And what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's had a good Sunday night, Sunday fun day, and we've got a little bit of a cold day, a little bit of a cold front coming in because we've got Jay from Cold Nights Gaming. No introductions needed. You've already met him the first time around, and shit, this is his Discord. So, Jay, how you doing, buddy?
How we doing, bud? I am full of piss and vinegar tonight. So.
Oh boy! So this ought to be a good show. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what's going on your mind. What's on your mind, buddy?
Yeah, just a lot of stresses lately, and a lot of it isn't related to our community or anything like that. It's like work driving me crazy and stuff.
100%.
A little bit of time that I get to spend browsing Twitter or YouTube. I'm just seeing some stuff that I really don't like. And, I'm not one to start beefs. I'm not about that. But, I think it's time to like call out some behaviors that I'm seeing people display that I can't stand for. So yeah, I mean, that's part of what I want to talk about tonight. And also, I want to share my opinions on what's going on with physical games and Best Buy and all that. There's a lot to be mad about right now.
What a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Just as a physical game collector, and fuck, you're even in a worse state than I am with that, because I know you don't like to do the online purchase. So I mean, the fact that these physical storefronts are starting to do this, absolute horseshit, man. Absolute horseshit. So now when you say that there's some behaviors that you're seeing that are just unacceptable, now one of the things I've learned, and again, I try to be as charitable as possible with this kind of thing. And like in my, I've traveled fairly broadly, and one of the things you learn is that we are absolute fucking garbage at discerning reality in a collective way. And what I mean by that is, let me use since we're going spicy tonight, I'll go ahead and I'll utilize religious as a euphemism. You've got a guy who believes that we just rot in the ground after death. You got that guy walking around, right? You got another guy who believes that their savior died on a cross thousands of years ago, and that this absolves us of sin so long as we believe in him. We've got another party that thinks that their Messiah went to heaven on a winged horse and will come back again in order for absolution. Now, these people aren't living in the same fucking universe. None of them are. These people are in completely fucking different realities. But yet somehow we come together and we cobble a shared reality together, despite the vast differences in perspectives, viewpoints, ideologies, outlooks on life. And so if we can't come to a consensus on the big ideas, how the fuck do we come to a consensus on smaller things? And so I want to start with that premise there, that sometimes people don't necessarily know that they're doing something wrong, but then sometimes genuinely people are just assholes. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing, some of this behavior you're talking about. We can kind of try to suss out and investigate what is what.
Before I begin, I always like to talk about, our conscience. And 99.9% of the time that we act or we do something, we are aware of whether it's right or wrong. And unless you are a stark raving mad sociopath, you know what you're going to do is going to hurt people or ruffle feathers or is wrong because of how it feels when you think about it or do it. So
internal morality.
I don't believe in a lot of what you're saying. That people don't realize what they're doing. I think they know what they're doing, and they're making a conscious decision because they think they're like a Howard Stern like shock jock, and coming out and doing some of these things that I'm going to talk about.
Gotcha. So basically like an internal morality, and I can see that for sure.
Yeah, universal morality is absolutely out there.
Okay.
Whatever religion you ascribe to or subscribe to, everyone knows when they're doing something wrong.
Well, like, part of that, part of that cobbled together shared reality. For example, don't kill people, don't steal shit. Generally good rules to live by. You know, they're definitely for sure, and so I can see your point there. Um, but and of course, smaller rules that should be observed, and one of the rules that I'm very strong on, and I think you are as well, is the rule of reciprocity. And I actually use this as a pretty good barnstormer rule for if I'm dealing with a good person. And so essentially, we all, and the reason for that is my knowledge of psychology is a trained hypnotist background. One of the things you pick up on really fast is that people who don't practice the big five is the rule Cialdini calls it. One of those rules is reciprocity. Um, are typically people that you can't hypnotize, for example. And so reciprocity is all about if you do something for somebody, somebody else does something for you. Consistency. We have an internal desire to be consistent with our past actions. So if we've done something in the past, most people want to be internally consistent and they want to continue to do that in the future. Those are just a couple of examples of things that are near universal human behavior. And when you don't see it and when you spot somebody not doing it, it is a red flag, for example.
Yeah, for sure. But the first thing I want to point out that I'm seeing that to me is utterly disgusting. All right. And I'm not going to call out names.
No.
If you're aware of what's been going on the last couple of months, you're going to know who these people are, and that's fine. And if they hear this and take offense to it, well, come on the show and I'll talk to you directly. Okay. So I am a small YouTuber. Okay. I have 550 subscribers. I'm not a 10K or 20K or 100K person. So it's easier for me at my level to maintain a personal relationship with a lot of my viewers that are friends, that are other content creators. That's much easier for me than, say, someone who has 20 or 50,000 subscribers. I understand that. Okay. I'm not saying that you need to have a personal relationship with the people that consume your content. What I'm saying is that you have to have a relationship of respect with the people that consume your content. And the other thing that I believe is that, especially if you're someone at 50 or 100K that is making a significant amount of change, maybe even enough to make a living off of, you definitely have a responsibility to the consumers, no different than a company like Target or Walmart does to theirs. So when they have constructive criticism that is leveled at you in a respectful way, without name calling or insulting you or questioning, your like moral code, if they point out that they don't like a game you covered, or they don't like that your video has paid advertisements, you do not have the right to respond to that by exposing them and showing their names, showing their comments, and having a good chuckle with your other high-level content creator friends at their expense. Because they are your fans. They are your consumer. I know a lot of these larger content creators think that they're up on some kind of pedestal. And that's a big disconnect that I also want to get to. But a lot of them definitely seem to think that they are better than their viewers, that they can talk down to their viewers.
100%.
And that they can ridicule their viewers if they disagree with their actions or their opinions. And I can tell you, as someone that only has 550 viewers, I appreciate and love every single person who saw my ugly mug on their screen and was willing to click subscribe for whatever reason. I will never do anything to hurt you or ridicule you, ever. I adore all of you. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to show your Twitter or YouTube handle. I'm not going to do any of that. Then I'm not going to call in my other content creator friends to the comments to have a chuckle at your expense. The people 100%. Who are doing that do not deserve the viewers and listeners that they have, because they don't actually value them. So as someone who struggles, just like you, because you're smaller as well, to get these viewers, maybe we have a better appreciation for them. But some of the behavior I saw, the most specific ones were about a month ago. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because these were pretty big, respected people in the collecting and JRPG genres. And I was like, what? They're doing this? That's awful lowbrow for them. That is below the reputation and responsibility that they have. I could see if there's some rookie person who doesn't know how to handle themselves and doesn't know how to act, and they're acting out at people like that, but not someone that has 50K subscribers or 100K subscribers. It's fine to disagree with them, and you can tell your viewers that they're wrong, but doing it by ridiculing them, I find that to be disgusting.
I 100% back everything you're saying, homie. I got to tell you. I see it too. I see it too. You know, and again, like if you're small, I'm fucking minuscule, right? But I operate on a very simple principle, and that is that, you know, and let me just throw my hat in the ring on this too. Like, we're fucking YouTubers, guys. We're fucking YouTubers. We're not changing the goddamn world with this. We're on here to have fun with our friends, or at least we should be. And I think actually YouTube was better when that was the goal instead of monetization. You're not better than anybody just because you throw a fucking YouTube video out. And this is where travel comes into play, because if you'll realize how small, even if you have 1 million subs on YouTube, it's important to keep in perspective how small your reach really is. And so the people who do get that high horse, who get that swallow head, my message to you is, one, it's not becoming. And I would ask you, is this why you got into this? Did you originally get into this in order to do that? And some might say yes. But I honestly think a majority of people got into this for the right reasons. They got into this because they wanted to share um, this hobby with other people. They wanted to share their passion for this thing. And one of the things that I talk about is the absolute corruption of power, whether it's social power, whether it's objective power, and it does slowly corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why I want to stay small. I have no interest in getting fucking big. Not that my technical skills ever will allow that, but I like it down here in the fucking dirt. I appreciate it, and it makes me appreciate things more. And I don't, and part of it is, maybe some of that comes with growth, but I also have to say that I've encountered assholes at all levels, whether it's 500 or whether it's 50,000, whether it's 100K, whether it's 1 million. I've also encountered people with 100,000 subs that are some of the coolest fucking people out there. OJ from Player Essence, for example, one of the coolest motherfuckers you'll ever meet. And he has 100K subs. Creators like Super Eye Patch, well, very down to earth, very willing to engage with their community, doesn't engage in this kind of gutter activity where they're throwing their own people that might have 80 Twitter followers under a bus because of a fucking disagreement. So you get it at all levels, but the people that do it, I mean, my message to you is stop it. You're not special. You're a fucking YouTuber, man. This isn't a special thing that we can do. Anybody, if I can fucking do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can put a microphone on and talk into it and throw a video up on YouTube. I understand at the end of the day, there's other things that go into that. And to the people who actually edit their videos, mad respect, because I have no patience for it. But at the end of the day, we're putting videos out on the internet for people to consume. And here's the key: enjoy. And just because they may not enjoy it, just because you may not be their particular jam, doesn't mean they're a bad person that needs to be thrown under a fucking bus. But anyway, that's my hat in the ring to it. What do you think about that?
And I also, like you just did, I think that when we're calling out bad behavior, we should also call out the exemplary behavior from people. And the people that I surround myself with in my own community, some of them are larger. People like Emily from Orbalology, Fem Trooper, Brandon from Just the Gems. I've seen them when people have actually acted out against them and actually said mean things that weren't just constructive criticism.
Yeah.
They did not spill their names.
Of course.
They followed a code. They pointed out the bad behavior, but they didn't say so-and-so said it.
Right.
They do the right thing. I've never seen them call someone out for something silly. And when they did find the need to call someone out for legitimate bad behavior, they didn't attempt to dox them or embarrass them or reveal who they are. And those are creators that have 25, 10, 5,000 subscribers that understand their responsibility.
Yeah, 100%.
And they carry it correctly. And so while I'm calling out those who shall not be named, I do want to call out people like Emily, Brandon, and Paige because they do the right thing. And they are on a large platform, and they're just good people, and they're not out there crushing people for no reason. So thank you for doing the right thing, and shame on everyone else who isn't.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a fandom. It's not a hateum. We're supposed to come together around the things we love, not tear each other apart over the things we hate, guys.
And let me tell you, this is not a personal thing. The people that did this, I was just alerted to it. I know who they are. I know what kind of people they are, so I don't consume their content. And that should bother them, but it doesn't. Because if they listen to this, they're going to be like, well, I don't care what that guy says. Who cares? But you should.
We'll be in the funny
because I'm out there in the blue ocean, right? And I could have found your content and thought it was amazing. But because of your attitude and the poor way you carry yourself, I am now in that red ocean where I actively refuse to consume your content. And I know you think that I don't matter because I only have 500 subscribers and I'm just one person. But I am someone who, until the day I die, because of the way you are, will never, ever follow you or take anything you say seriously. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there.
Actions have consequences. Actions have consequences. And again, these the type of cats we're talking about, like if they do happen to catch wind of this, we're going to be in the funny papers tomorrow. And I say, bring that shit on. Like, you know me, I'm a fucking honey badger. I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, we can have that battle. I mean, it's not something I want to do, but if they want to pick the fight, we can have the fight. I don't care.
And like, I'm not saying that people are beyond fixing. I would love it if some of these people that I'm frustrated with were like, probably not right of me to call out people by name for making, small claims about my content that weren't disrespectful. I'm sorry I did that. I still disagree with you. And this is why I disagree with you. But I was wrong to do that. And you know what? I would give that person another chance. But something tells me the people I'm thinking of aren't going to do that.
Yeah, low chance. But you always like to set up for a redemption arc, but low chance. There's a couple I can think of that might, if the right person said it. That's the other important thing. It ain't gonna be you or me that changes their fucking minds. But again, at the end of the day, people are the way they are, and if you're gonna act like this, if you're gonna act like somebody who doesn't want to participate in a society and a fandom, I have to cast you out. And that's basically what I do. And I do that my own way. Again, I'm not going to name any names either. That's not fair or right. But I again, not going to be like the people we're talking about. But I will kind of avoid what I'm looking at and go to other people who are better people, the people that we've named here today. Like, for sure.
And the funny thing is, where there's smoke, there's fire. The people that I'm specifically thinking of, I had already heard of experiences through third parties that were poor with them. So when I saw what I saw, I was like, yep, I expected that. So there was no surprise. I was hoping that, the things I heard, I don't like to just believe every bad thing I hear about a person. It can be a nice experience when you hear someone is a jerk or has a problem and you meet them and you're like, wow, they're very different. And I'm glad that they are. Unfortunately, these people do not seem to be different than what I had, than the reputation that had preceded them.
Now, how much, I guess, to kind of get into, and everybody, I know the joke. Everybody take a shot. How much do you think the Dunbar's number comes into play here in the Ashby's Law? Do you think that this is, at the end of the day, just meanness, or do you think some of it is born from just at this point not having full control over a community that has outgrown your capability to do so?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I also think that they don't see everyone the same. I think that, some of them, I'm not going to say all, right? But I think some of them, and specifically the people that we're talking about, if they have 50,000 subscribers, they're not looking at me or you as anyone that matters, but they may look at someone else that has 25 or 30 as someone that matters. So they may have care when they speak about those people, and they may care about what they say personally affecting those people. But if they're going to pick on the dude that pointed out that he doesn't like ads and he has 40 Twitter subscribers, I don't know that they view them as people. So I don't even know that the Dunbar number equates there, because maybe they have 140 people that have high subscriber tier numbers, and they can appreciate them and deal with them on a personal level and respect them. But it seems that some of these people don't have respect for the common viewer. And again, I'm calling on consumers. You as a YouTube viewer in that audience are a consumer. And when you see this, no matter how much you enjoy that person's content, it's on you to make the decision if what they're doing is enough to drive you away. And you should exercise that power if you feel strongly enough about what they're doing. Because when you see someone act like that, do you want to be in their inner circle? Because you are judged by the company you keep, right? So I've already seen some people kind of like distance themselves from them, because some of these
100
people,
and it's open bar.
maybe.
What's up, Brandon from Just the Gyms? What's up, buddy?
Hey, you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. It worked the first time.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Getting some stuff off my chest. Were you
what are we drinking now? First of all, I forgot to ask everybody, and Rush is going to kill me if we don't. What the fuck are we drinking, guys? I'm drinking Blanton's tonight. Went with the Old Faithful. What are you guys drinking?
I got my down home punch.
I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
Beautiful.
But yeah, no, sorry. I missed the first part of the conversation. I was just finishing up dinner.
So we were talking about concerns, and me and you may have talked about it actually in the past, with content creators calling out their viewers by name, putting them on blast, showing their handles, and then kind of ganging up on them for questioning them in a respectful manner.
Sure.
And I'm saying that as content creators, whether you're me with 550, you with 5,000, or the people I'm not going to name that might have 50 or 100,000, you have a responsibility to act with respect towards people. And more or less doxing them and publicly calling them out for a basic non-offensive opinion, to me, is not respectful. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been doing this a short while, obviously. But the way that I try to handle that sort of thing is to meet disrespect with respect. You know what I mean? Kind of like you're saying, but like even if they're being intentionally unkind, to try to just respond in a kind manner and then and leave it at that, right? Like, I don't want to start drama. I don't want a bunch of drama on the channel or in my Twitter or whatever. Like, I try to just stop it with kindness if I can. And that, so far, fingers crossed, has worked. But I mean, who knows? Some of these people have been doing it a lot longer. I don't know. I can't say what I'll be like a year from now, but that's my plan, is to try to continue that way.
Now, I just want to say, I really like what you just laid out there. I think that's a great way to do it. My own way, and I get much less shit than you guys. Like nobody even knows who the fuck I am. So that has its advantages, has its disadvantages. But every once in a while, I'll get some weirdo that shows up, and I just like to laugh them off. Like, for example, I had one guy call me a strange internet ghost, and I just added that to my handle, just like the fucking guy that called me. It's like, oh yeah, you act like you're the last cool kid on the internet. That's going on the Twitter handle, bud. Thank you. So sometimes comedy and humor, like, again, you don't have to call them out directly by name. These are people that are miserable people. I don't want to make them more miserable,
right.
But I can use comedy to, one, diffuse it, and two, like, inadvertently, you're giving me content. You gave me my Twitter handle, so thanks, random miserable guy.
And I was saying that, Brandon, you were actually one of the people I pointed out. People like you, Emily, Paige, who have had actual nasty commenters who were not respectful to you. And you called out the bad behavior without calling out the person,
the individual, right?
And that is the correct way to do it. And even myself, at my smaller subscriber count, a couple of weeks ago, I had someone that was being brutal to me, saying horrible things. And I had people that were saying horrible things about my friends. And I literally made a PSA on one of my podcasts, and I did not name them, but I did shame them. And if they were listening, they definitely know I was talking about them. And that was what mattered. And what also mattered was the community knowing that I'm there to support them. And if anything ever happens, that people like me and you and Zoo will be there for them. So the point was to, yes, warn these people that are acting this way to back off, but also it was also a positive note that, hey, we're here if this happens to you, and we're here for each other when it happens to us. But calling them out by name and embarrassing them would only make the drama worse. And that's with someone who's actually being aggressive and hostile.
Right.
With someone who just made a suggestion to your channel, for you to blow them up on Twitter and show their name, to me, that's just unacceptable. And that's what we were talking about in that segment.
100%. And if this happens to anybody in here, whether you're a listener or whether you're in the Cold Nights Discord, let me just say this, and I say this joking but not joking. You don't know who I am, but I have a very specific skill set that I have cultivated over a variety of years. I come from a time period where I did some internet blood sports background. I'm very good at this, and I will find you, and I will tear you apart verbally. I'm very, very good at that, even though I don't show it.
You also have some famous friends too.
Sort of. Yeah. Famous for our space. Yes. Yeah. So I also have resources as well. Yes. So, yeah. So don't fuck with my friends, please.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. The people in my community, they know I imprint on them. And the people that I've chose to have in my circle that I choose to associate with, I will always be there for them. That doesn't always mean I see eye to eye with them, and I may get upset with them about something, and we'll handle it between ourselves. It'll never be a public thing, and I will always be there to defend them. And I may not have the internet blood sports history that Zoo has, but I will do everything in my power, however limited that may be, to stop bad actors from working in these spaces. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've enjoyed the most since I've started doing YouTube is just the community that I've found myself somehow a part of. Like I didn't set out with the intention of like making good friends on, doing videos on the internet. Like that wasn't my plan. But it's just been so surprising. And yeah, I want to echo what you guys have said. I agree wholeheartedly.
So, Zoo, I think it's time for us to talk about Best Buy.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. So, Gaming Off the Grid has done great work on this. If you don't check that channel out, definitely check those two guys out. They've been sounding the fucking alarm on physical games disappearing for literally over a year now, and it just keeps getting worse. Like about once a month, they'll go in, they'll check their local Walmart, and it's not just Best Buy. Like Best Buy is made the big announcement saying they're gonna kill it. But if you go in like your local Walmart, you're gonna see less games. You're gonna see more digital game cards. They're getting ready to put the fuck into physical game owners, and in a really fucked up way. And at this point, personally, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just not angry about it anymore. I'm resigned to the fact that I'm getting ready to be pushed out of this hobby. And I say that's fine because I never really got to explore the PlayStation 2. I never really got to explore the TurboGrafx 16, which is a system that I've always wanted to dive into. And there's enough games already out physically and complete and not riddled with fucking microtransaction and live services and all this other fucking dumb shit that they just plague modern games with, that I've got enough good gaming content for the rest of my life. So my response is do what you have to do. Fuck them. Mic drop.
Fuck, I like it. Fuck them. So what I see happening is, so the game industry and the gaming hobby is never going to go away. I think it's going to change, and we're already seeing it start to evolve. But the very specific community that we're all in, the physical collecting community, I think is going to cease to exist. I think that there will not really be a valid space for people like us to sit and show off our collections or unbox new things we've purchased. Because I can speak from not only a content creator's perspective, but as a consumer of this content. That's how I met a lot of you. Seeing your channels because I'm interested in the collecting side of things. And as we are priced out of the hobby by LRG and all of these, fly-by-night companies that come up that have these ridiculous super special editions and all these crazy pre-orders, whether they're limited or open, they're all expensive. And I think that you're going to see less and less people be able to purchase them. And I think you're going to start seeing almost a schism based on where you're at in your life with your wealth and where you are economically. And I think that you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are, middle class or lower middle class, or even in poverty, that are going to have no interest in watching rich people open up the games that only they can afford. So I really think that one of the unintended consequences of all this, yes, we'll all get used to more digital media, but what's going to hurt the most is not being able to see people open up these new things and explore these new things on camera. So my woe is for the loss of the game collecting content. Me and Zoo have talked about it many times. I have so many goddamn games in my collection. I could live 5 lifetimes right now and I would never finish them all. And that's just the physical ones. Forget the digital ones I've bought. And that's just the modern games. Forget all the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all of that, the PS1, PS2. We're just talking about like my Switch, PS4, and PS5 stuff. I would die 5 times before I finish them all. So we'll be okay. All right. I could play frickin' the 10 different Harvest Moons that are out until I die. But it's going to suck not being able to have that really cool community experience on places like YouTube and Twitter with people enjoying game collecting the way we were accustomed to before. That's my 2 cents on it.
100%.
Where I think I can wholeheartedly agree is that the space will change. I don't know if I think that it's going to go away in the sense that you're describing. I think that it is going to change, though. I think we're going to see physical releases treated more like, I don't know, like the Criterion Collection or something like that, where the best of the best games will still receive some sort of physical version, whether that's just the game by itself or whether it's a pricey collector's edition or whatever. I'm sad about that, to be honest. Like I like having the shelf full of games. The library, like I've looked at my collection as like I'm curating a library, right? I'm not just putting everything and anything on the shelf. I'm looking for the games that I think are worthwhile. And in a digital world, I can't really do that. And even in a world where it's like a Criterion style, where only the games that the collective community has decided are the best of the best get physical releases, like that leaves off so many games that I might personally love and would love to have a physical copy of. So I mean, I don't know. I think what's happening with digital distribution of everything is bad for art. It's bad for the art forms that are being affected. Movies and TV shows are so different now than they were, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even. And I don't know if things are going to change, if the bubble's going to burst on streaming and bring us back to something more recognizable. I hope it does, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, and a couple
My
of things at
concern
play
with
here.
my
Go ahead.
concern with what you were saying, though, is that so you mentioned the Criterion collection, which I think is brilliant. But my question that I would pose to both you and Zoo is, how many editions of Criterion stuff do you have?
Not a lot. I've got Eraserhead and I think Mulholland Drive, and that's about it. Oh, it's Seven Samurai.
Oh.
I do have Seven Samurai. So 3.
Oh, literally, I don't know that I own any Criterion Collection films myself.
And if you look at those, they were only done in very special releases that were very expensive, and over time became even more expensive. So I think your analogy there is correct, and I think that's what's going to happen, because I don't think that if we're only releasing select games that we're going to put out $40 or $50 regular editions of them. They're going to want to really make their money there, and I think that you're only going to see the most expensive, lavish things. And unfortunately, I already see them, and when I see people open those boxes, they're just full of paper. Like,
well, yeah,
even now, like I don't see cool statues anymore. I don't, we went from great statues to like now a treat is like an acrylic standee. Like, to me, that's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, acrylic standees are the bane.
Well, there's a couple of things going on that ties all this together too, guys. And so what we're seeing actually is the commoditization of the hobby. That's what we're seeing. So again, everybody take a shot. Macroeconomics do come into play here. We've got inflation going on. Okay. So anytime you have inflation to this level, it's absolutely making it very difficult for physical media. And that might explain not only the inflation, but the deflation of the game products we're getting. Why is a shitty paper thing stand up now instead of a statue? Why are the special editions getting more expensive but having less good shit in them? A physical media has to be shipped to the location. It requires gas, requires somebody driving. Somebody has to open the goddamn box. Then somebody's got to put the game on the shelf. All of this comes into play, and it's some of the things we enjoy. But in general, when you stamp the disc, if you do the manual, if they still even have a fucking manual, all of these are things that are leading to that commoditization, because what happens is the common thing that the games industry thinks is going to happen is that when they get rid of physical games, it allows them to control the price of games. And that's true. At that point, they've eliminated secondhand sales for the most part. And so now they can actually control when the game goes on sale. But what the game developers have made a very cynical bet, these people that run these companies, because the problem is when all physical disappears, it commoditizes the hobby further and gaming becomes less special. The reason why you can reliably hold the values that physical games hold is because it has things like a manual, especially for these limited editions. The reason why you're starting to see even physical games commoditize and go down in value faster is because the discs, literally the boxes, have fucking holes in the discs where they don't want to use as much plastic because it's too expensive. There's no manual.
Yeah, the little recycle thing.
Yes, there's downloadable shit that you don't even get the whole goddamn game. Every time you do this, you're cheapening your product. And eventually what that means is, yes, you're going to be able to control the price of the digital game, but the price of that digital game that you can realistically offer is going to be so much smaller. Look at digital books, look at digital movies, and how, even though they've gotten rid of a lot of those things, look at how low the price on those digital commodities are. So, and the response I get from people is, oh, you mean game developers are going to have to go do something else if those prices get too low to pay their salaries? Or you mean the game executives are going to have to go find another industry to go fucking vampire off of because they have no love for this industry? Yeah. Guess what, gaming executives? It's time for you to come cut my fucking lawn. And I'll give out extra if you take out my trash, because you're not going to be able to be in this business too long. It's not going to be sustainable if you keep doing this. So, but I always need my grass cut. So come on over, executives.
You know what would be fantastic, and I don't know if this is possible. But I would love
real quick. Sorry to cut you off, Brandon. We got an open barn. We got Rush Dog popping in.
Rush.
Oh, hey, Rush.
What's going on, fellas?
How we
Not
doing?
too much. Glad to hear you, man. I'm glad you're here. And sorry, Brandon, proceed, and we'll get Rush in on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what I think would be really cool, and I'm just spitballing here. I'm very open to your thoughts on this, especially with the rise of indie development. Right? There's fantastic games being produced by 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 people, right? That are just doing it for the love and putting it on Steam or whatever, right? Like I just reviewed a game, Eternights, recently that looks very close, if not exactly like a AAA game. It was made by one person, right? Like it's phenomenal. What I think would be really cool is if some company or companies could come up with some sort of indie distribution, print on demand publishing service. So rather than a limited run approach where we say we're going to make 5,000 copies of this game and we're going to print them and we're going to ship them and sell them, like let's create a service that allows an indie developer to print on demand their game and create manuals and create all these cool things that they want to put in the game. And yeah, the price will vary depending on how much the indie developer wants to charge and how much they're putting into the package that they're creating. But I don't know. I feel like something like that is the way that we maintain physical game collecting in the future.
Dude, somebody
And
should
that's
do
something-
that. You got my fucking noggin jogging now.
That's something
Somebody
that totally
should do
can.
that.
That's something that totally can be done because there's people that do it
Ooh.
on that level with repros right now.
Sure.
Phil One Up did a great video on a friend of his that does very
Damn.
beautiful repros of both consoles and games that you would think was something from like LRG.
Mhm.
And he charges very fair prices. Like, so what you're talking about is something that absolutely could happen.
Let me look into this. That is a hell of a pitch. I like it, Brandon.
Yeah, I would love to see that at a broader scale, right? Like let's make it easy for indie developers to do this. Let's make the limit on this their creativity and not like, anything else, anything mechanical. Let's just make it their creativity.
Sorry, I'm just lost in thought. That's a pretty good pitch. I like it. What do you
You
think,
need to
Russ?
go into business.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is at what point will consoles no longer have a physical disk drive or cartridge slot?
Soon.
So at a certain point in time, even if the market's there for these niche products, I don't know if the hardware will be there anymore.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
Xbox
that's
is already
concern
talking like
too.
the next. They're getting ready to put out something. I think I read somewhere that has no disc at all coming up.
Did you see that ridiculous like detachable PlayStation drive thing?
I saw it. Sony.
It made me
man.
throw up in my mouth.
Sony.
Oh,
God. Well, the good news is Lion Cry and Jim Ryan's about out the door, and then maybe we can start to see some damage reduction.
maybe that was his last gift for us.
Yeah, get that. That's what I'm talking about. Like, honestly, like, I've been pretty hard on game devs in some of our discussions, but at the end of the day, like, a lot of that probably should be redirected to these. I call them the vampires, and it's these people, it's these out of the industry people that come in and just suck things dry. Like, gaming is trapped in the vampire's castle, and it needs an exit strategy pronto for real. 100%.
Yeah, in the AAA space, that's definitely a concern.
But again, you
And-
mentioned indies though, and you do
Mhm.
mention
And-
indies, and I see indies is more than just they see indies and they see a cute puppy dog. But what I see, especially as tools become more and more democratized, I actually see you're slowly but seeing like the moat for AAA gaming. The moat built around AAA gaming used to be high production values, but now indie companies are starting to be able to do that too. New tools like Blender, advances in AI, the rapid ability to be able to contract out work that you can't do yourself. One of the things I always mention, there's a fan project that's near and dear to my heart that I actually participate in called Tamriel Rebuilt, and I'm actually in the middle of testing some of Lake Andoram right now. That's the new content they're about to drop. This is a fan project that's gone on for 20 years. Basically, Bethesda ran out of time when they were doing the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, and so they were only able to give the province of Vardenfell, which is just one province of the entire country. And this project has basically worked to add the rest of the mainland together. And it's basically been around since 2001, very slow going in those early days because they only had access to the construction set. And of course, that comes with limitations that were presented by Bethesda. Now, as time went on, we got tools. The first major thing they did was they reorganized themselves. And as the indie game revolution hit around 2008, really hot and heavy, 2006, 2008, you started to see them develop more of a cohesive unit and cohesive standards. Then the releases started to get a little faster. Then COVID hit and it set them back, but then we also got tools like Blender. Development got a little bit faster. Now AI has hit, and now they're literally where it used to be they would put out an expansion a decade. Now they're putting out a fucking expansion once a year with these new tools and these new contracting opportunities. And where it used to be a literal pipe dream that we were ever going to get the full country of Morrowind, we're now looking at getting all of Tamriel by 2030, 2040. So it's incredible the rate of disruption is not just indie games. Disruption is the tools that indie game users are going to utilize to continue to move downstream and pressure the AAA industry in ways they didn't imagine. So again, it used to be that the main thing was assets. It used to be high production values were what separated a AAA game from an indie game. Soon they're only, and you already see it, they're making, all of them are starting to make open world games. And I don't think they're making open world games because they want to. Open world games are very expensive. They're very time consuming. They're making open world games because they can no longer compete with a game like Hollow Knight or Celeste or The Messenger. They can no longer compete with a Sea of Stars. And so they're moving more and more downstream into that more and more expensive technical space. And what they don't realize is at the end of the day, indie devs are going to follow them wherever they go because the tools are getting easier and easier to pick up and use. They're in trouble. I feel like they're going to be in trouble.
I think another kind of downside to the AAA mentality is that you might have a team of 50 or 100 people working on a game, but they're answering to a bunch of corporate middle managers. And I said in the Discord the other day that when games are planned, produced, and marketed by people who have no nostalgia for video games, that's going to bring about a disastrous demise to the industry. And those corporate middle managers are not people that played Super Mario World. They are not people that played Resident Evil or Final Fantasy VII. They're businessmen. And the worst thing for any business is businessmen. If you're an indie developer,
100%.
If you're an indie developer, whether you're one person or a 5-person team, you are the one planning, producing, and even marketing it. So you have full creative control. You're not answering to anybody else. And your love and nostalgia for the medium will come through in your product.
They're also continuously picking up the things that AAA has abandoned. The whole genesis of the indie revolution was AAA gaming's not going to make this anymore. We'll make it ourselves. And so as AAA abandons territory, you're seeing it constantly picked up by indie studios.
Absolutely.
One of the things I like to talk about is Metroid Dread. Look at a game like Metroid Dread. I love Metroid Dread to death. It's it is my favorite Metroid game of all time. But can Metroid Dread compete with the likes of Hollow Knight? I don't think so. I really don't. I still think Hollow Knight, I think Nintendo lost that momentum. And it shows in the sales. I mean, again, I love to throw this out there that they're very proud of their 3 million sales. But those 3 million sales happened in 2019. Back in 1986, OG Metroid did 2.73 million. So it's not the best-selling Metroid of all time, as I love to tell OJ constantly. Best-selling Metroid of all time is still OG Metroid and maybe Metroid Prime. I haven't done the population increase adjustment on that. Or yeah, I did. It's still OG Metroid. It's still OG Metroid because it came out in 2001. But meanwhile, you got a game like Hollow Knight, and while it didn't sell 3 million copies, I think it sold over 1 million. It was made by 3 fucking people. So it's absolutely going to be more profitable than a game that is a AAA budgeted game like Dread, 100% of the time. And you got to look at that too.
Lou, I got a live fact check for you. Just quick Google search. It says Hollow Knight sold about 2.8 million copies.
Oh,
and the
Jesus
other factor
Christ,
about,
are you serious?
Well, just a quick Google search. Didn't dive too deep because we're on the chat. But the other thing is you got to keep in mind too with Hollow Knight and Dread not being able to compete is Hollow Knight was a quarter of the price. I know you like your physical games, but for those who bought Hollow Knight digital, it's $15 versus a $60 Dread card.
Fair. Now that's 100%. Thank you for that. That is absolutely true, man. Got to look at that. So, is it really competing straight up? I don't know that it is. And Rush makes a great point because one game is $15. Even if you buy it physical, it's fucking $30. It's half of what Dread costs. So they're kind of competing asymmetrically in that regard. So that has to be kept in 100% has to be kept in mind. And let me stop my old man rant because we've got somebody who just joined in, and it's the Magic
Howdy.
Florist. What's going on, buddy?
I'm here.
Hello.
I just promoted to Platinum in League of Legends.
Beautiful.
Right.
That's awesome to hear, man. And then we've got Emily from Orbology. What's up, Emily?
Hello.
Full house,
How we doing,
guys.
Coach?
Holy shit.
Hey.
Okay. So I was just old man ranting, and Rush was just pointing out a real good fact, which is that, even though OG Metroid sold more, even though Dread sold 3 million copies, 2.8 million copies at $15, which I'm going to assume most of those were digital. I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Are not going to be the same as Dread having to sell at a full $60 price point for most of its run. So I think that's fair. But anybody else have anything they want to throw into the ringer, or even if we're going to talk about something else? It's open bar, man.
I guess if I had to just add something, I just feel like they're both obviously Metroidvanias, but I feel like they're in the same genre, but you'd buy them for different reasons. I don't know if comparing them is the
Okay,
most
and can you expand on that a little bit? That's a good point. I want to hear
because
more about it.
to be specific, Hollow Knight kind of delves into a Metroidvania style of Souls-likes. From what I've heard, in a way that Dead Cells does. I haven't played Dead Cells. I don't know.
Oh,
offhand.
Dead Cells is so good. Play it.
But you're for Metroid Dread, you're playing for obviously the upgrades and everything, but it's for shooting and for getting away. And for Hollow Knight, it tends to be for things that it can boost movement for combat.
Right, kind of more melee combat, more like a Dark Souls.
I feel like it's different audiences that really like one versus really liking the other.
So
True,
here's
and
a
we're
question
not, we're not just competing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zoe.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
We're not just talking about these games competing in terms of sales or price. We're talking about them competing for the community's affection, right? And their attention. As much as people love Metroid, and people love Metroid, right? It's a big series. Look at how many people freak out every time Hollow Knight 2 doesn't get a release date, right? There is
riots.
There is so much emotion tied up around this game that you don't see. I mean, you see it to an extent with Metroid, but I feel like it's more potent with a game like Hollow Knight. So, even beyond the economics of it, there's a sort of emotional aspect to it all that I think we have to consider too.
Well, and if you caught my convo with Ali, we had a really interesting convo on what exactly is a Metroidvania. And I think we settled on there's a narrow definition, and she presented a very intriguing wider definition. So let me just poll everybody here real quick. Is Dark Souls a Metroidvania?
No.
Do you get progression items?
You do.
No, this one. I get. Well, because then Dark Souls is still more level based. You're not really revisiting old areas if you don't. You don't absolutely need to.
It's not as much
but that's
based
the
on
point.
exploration.
Is we've got a genre with a definition so broad that you could start throwing 3D games in there.
I think it's similar to the roguelite versus roguelike conversation.
Yes.
Where it's these exist in the same spaces without definitely having to fit one definition or the other. There's things about it that are Metroidvania. Maybe there are things about it that aren't. I suck at Souls-like games, so I don't play them.
Well, that's
what I'm gathering.
I love conversations like this because it kind of proves my point that we really kind of construct reality around us as we go. We've got several definitions for this one genre, and we just can't come together on it. And it point in the hypnotist's favor that this idea of a shared reality is honestly kind of bunk in some ways.
When Super Metroid and Metroid came out, they weren't considered Metroidvanias. They were just considered action-adventure games. So it's a relatively new genre as well.
Rush. Amen.
Make me be honest too on RPGs and that conversation. What is an RPG?
Yeah, what is it?
Games with RPG element.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's and I've got an interesting thing on this because, I started way back in the early days of RPGs, and so we're talking like Ultima, and we're talking Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest actually. And so, Ultima and Wizardry were kind of the birthplace of it all. But if you go back and play Ultima and Wizardry, like your average JRPG fan is gonna be like, "What the fuck is this crusty ass shit? Like this isn't a fucking RPG." But then the JRPG mechanics, they evolve over time. Now you've got something like Final Fantasy 14, and it's reignited the debate over what the fuck an RPG is yet again. And so I think that's a point well taken.
People argue over FF14.
What's that?
People argue over FF14.
No, I'm
RPG?
drunk. I meant 16.
I think Zoo means 16. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Okay.
Totally meant 16. No, it's not your fault. I'm fucking drunk.
I was like, that one's pretty definitive in my opinion.
Oh,
honestly,
yeah,
16 was too.
definitely
I think people were just being elitist about that. It's kind of an annoying argument to see.
Well, I'll tell you, and you and I would have a good conversation on this too, Flores, because I'm very, very purist on Mario, Zelda, and Metroid in particular, right?
Mhm.
And actually, Super Eye Patch Wolf just put out a brilliant fucking video called "The Simpsons is Good Again." Everybody should watch that. That kind of challenges that preconception, because here's what he did, and I was curious, and I eventually I'm going to dive down this rabbit hole. But what he did is he went back. All the people who say Simpsons has been shit for so long, he's one of those, by the way. That's why this is so interesting. And what he did is he went back to the Wayback Machine and looked up reviews for season 6 of The Simpsons, one of the most legendary seasons of television of all fucking time, right? And people hated season 6 when it was out. It wasn't like the old Simpsons. So what I want to do is I want to look at reviews. I want to see if his point lands with Mario and Metroid and Zelda. I want to go back and look at reviews at the time, not the reviews we did, basically sucking the games off because of we love the games. But I want to look at the reviews, and I was there, so I know some of this, but I want to see what the larger game community said about some of these games. Mario World. I want to see what they say about Zelda Ocarina of Time. I want to see what they say about. There's a few relics, but most of those are gone. And the ones that are kept give it that 97, 98 legendary status. But I want to see the user reviews. I want to see what people are saying about those games. And I want to see if it has a parallel to season 6 Simpsons. I'd be very curious to see it. And if so,
sounds
that
like a
really
great
challenges
video
one of my
project.
great worldviews. And I love that.
There's actually and it's like memed about now, and I'm pretty sure this is like pretty much what you're talking about, but like the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire IGN review.
Okay.
Like the 7 out of 10 too much water. I feel like that's kind of where this is kind of landing, where it's like that game is one of the greatest Pokemons of all time, objectively just with more content. And then people are still reviewing it as if it's not that Pokemon Emerald.
Well, it had too much water, Florist.
Yeah. How dare they? They expect me to catch a seal?
But what everybody else think? What do we think, guys?
First of all, I got to give a shout out to SNES Hub for those sycophantic reviews you were referencing, Zoo.
I'm one of those. Absolutely one of those. Those reviews are painful to read again. That was golden age thinking for sure.
It was good times though, for sure. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add that. It is interesting to see how reviews, and I like your philosophy, Zoo, of not reviewing things in the hype cycle, because the immediate reviews upon immediate release date, they all kind of a narrative forms around a game, and most reviews tend to stick with the narrative with maybe one or two contrarians.
Well, and I don't even think it's on purpose. That's the thing. Like, you're absolutely right. But again, knowing what I know about human psychology, social proof is so strong, man. It's such a strong thing. And so if you see everybody else buzzing about a game, you don't want to be that one shit fuck that's like, nah, this sucks, actually. Not everybody's me. Not everybody just doesn't give a fuck and does that. And most people actually aren't. They'll be like, oh, yeah, well, you'll see the good because everybody else is seeing the good. Same thing if a game's being shit on. you're going to shit on a game that everybody else is shitting on because it's part of the fun. It's part of the social proof of what's going on in the moment. So yeah, you'll never see me review a game until it's at least like a fucking year old for the most part. That rule rarely gets broken. Exceptions like Metroid Prime, that game's literally 20 fucking years old. So
I was just watching a video earlier today by a YouTuber named Danny Doyle, and what I've been watching of hers, she's making like tier lists of like various Fire Emblem things.
Okay.
But the most recent one I watched is she just ranked like every single game. And what was interesting for me was that like Engage people felt like very 50-50 on. She ranked that, I want to say, around numbers like somewhere between like 4 and 6.
Okay.
And then Three Houses was at 9. And I personally agree, but I know that Three Houses had a huge hype train.
Well, we've got a big Engage fan in the chat. Jay, tell us a little bit about Engage.
I'm with you on that, for the record.
I sometimes I feel like I'm the only defender of it. I know that Emily liked it all right too.
Okay. I'm here with you. I didn't finish the game, but I really love Lapis.
I'm on like an island. That game did exactly what it was meant to do. It rekindled my love for Fire Emblem, and that game made me go back and play digitally and purchase physically Fire Emblem games that I had either, parted with or never experienced. And so I can honestly say that game coming out did a massive thing for the franchise. And to hear people being like, it's not as good as Three Houses. Three Houses, in my opinion, actually set back the traditional franchise and changed people's expectations of it. And I think that Fire Emblem Engage was kind of realigning those expectations, and the nostalgia that was involved with the rings. To me, it rekindled, probably not just me. I mean, there's probably other people. I just haven't found them.
I'm going to actually take that a step farther and say that I think Three Houses was a bad game.
I love Three Houses.
I did not like the combat. I thought the support conversations were either like, I'm not learning enough about you, or I'm learning too much about you way too quickly. The only supports, and I've tried to do Black Eagles every time I play because I get to like right around where the time skip is about to happen, and then I can't stand it and I put it down again. But Linhardt and Flame have a really good support. Caspar and Petra, and then like Dorothea and Bernadetta, but then those are still like 3 of like the 5 I can even really remember.
I will tell you that if it wasn't for the Warriors game associated with it, I may not have had such fond memories for it, but I'm someone who likes deep emotional stories, and the stories of Marianne and Bernadetta and a couple of the other characters. Quick plug, I get a video coming up on that soon. Those specific characters, their stories are so tragic that they stick with me long past the flaws that were in the game. Because I agree. I think the combat was not quite as sharp, and some of the periphery characters were quite boring and were not elaborated on enough. But I think that the highlights from some of those core characters, especially from the Golden Deer, and that's why I love the Golden Deer so much, really made that game a standout. But I do think overall for the series, it did set it back because it took your traditional gameplay and changed people's expectations. And also, new people that came in now expect that from Fire Emblem. So when Fire Emblem returned to its roots and engaged, they're like, this sucks. But wait a minute, guys, go back 2 or 3 entries and you'll realize that this is what it is. It's not Three Houses.
Yeah, right. I think that was a big disconnect. Again, my last Fire Emblem game was actually a repro cart of Genealogy of the Holy War. So there was a real jar when I first started Three Houses. Like, I worked through it. I did work through it because I like a lot of those characters. But and this is something we're going to have to talk about at some point, maybe even tonight. I find Edelgard fascinating in a very dark way.
She's by far the most interesting of the protagonists. I'm sorry, Jay. I know I offended you with that. But like when you actually do Black Eagles, it's like, oh, why would you do any other route in this game? I mean, like, oh yeah, the monastery is awful. Well, no, actually, let me rephrase that. It's not awful, but it's only good in a vacuum. And when they make you do it over and over and over again, it's really bad.
Right.
It's rotten.
100%.
The worst part was those goddamn classes you had to sit through.
Ugh. Yeah, no, for real. And again, Engaged is on the list. I promise, guys, I'm gonna play it, but it's on the list.
Engage is nice. If you like Fire Emblem in general, there's going to be something you like about Engage.
So
Engage was a.
Oh, go ahead, Rush.
So I was just going to say, I think part of the issue with Engage was Jay kind of touched upon the game did what it was meant to do. It's essentially an anniversary game, but I don't think it was really marketed as such, which I think might have led to some of the disconnect with kind of fan reception. But as an,
I feel like I saw Martha in the trailers more than I saw Alear.
I'd have to go back and look again, because I didn't really pay much attention, to be honest. Like, oh, we're getting another Fire Emblem game, but
honestly, and once again, sorry, Jay, because I know I'm offending you with this. I think part of the problem was just that Alear, no matter how you feel about Alear's design, it is very divisive.
Oh,
and
come on! It's as if the Nintendo Switch became a character.
It looks like Colgate toothpaste became a character.
Oh,
it looks like they turned Pepsi Man into a lolly.
Oh, damn.
So,
ouch. So,
it was kind of part of, like, I guess his portrait kind of looks like it too when you play Genealogy, but Sigurd's head is, like, oddly tall.
I'm going to have to go look now. Yeah, that's...
I don't even
At
know.
least to me it was. Maybe I'm being harsh on the guy because, like, everyone else has, like, so much they had.
Okay.
So hold on, I'm gonna defend Alear for a minute.
Okay.
Whether you're playing as the male or female, the point of Alear's character is that you have a person who just awoke, is terrified, gets to know their mother, is very sad about that situation. You have someone that is steeped in confusion while they're trying to save the world. So I think that a lot of people are actually misunderstanding that character.
I'm not saying anything about Alear as a character. I'm saying the design was very bold.
I find them both to be strikingly beautiful.
I just like the Switch coloration, being the filthy Switch whore that I am.
Yeah, but the only reason I brought that up is to, like, say, in terms of sales, I would not be surprised if a significant amount of people didn't buy it on release because they just did not like how Alear looks.
Get us some numbers.
I was going to say, yeah. What did we do? And keep in mind, and when did it come out? I know there's going to be a minuscule difference. But I always like to look
January this year, right?
So
guys,
my birthday, actually. Fun fact.
Emily was trying to mention something about the beginning of the game.
1.6 million copies, Jay.
Compared to how much for Three Houses? And they had the pandemic, and it's...
Yeah.
Three Houses is about 4 million from the top of Google. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't even have to.
But I feel like the
do
pandemic
the
adjusts that.
Don't even have to do it.
Pandemic definitely adjusts that, and then...
Yeah, don't even have to do a pop adjustment. Yeah, Three Houses definitely sold more.
So, Em, what were you saying about how the game began?
Uh-oh. Might be some mic difficulties. We had that a little bit last night with Allie. Em, you still there?
I can hear her.
I can hear.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay,
I hear her loud and clear.
Might be my end then. Perfect.
Oh yeah, sorry, Zoo. Are you listening through YouTube or Discord?
I'm listening here through. I got a janky fucking setup this time around. So I'm talking through my headset, but for some fucking reason the headphones aren't working, and so it's coming through the TV.
Jesus.
Yeah. Fucking Boomer Zoo strikes again.
Oh shit! They're saying they can't hear Emily on the stream either.
Oh shit. Okay.
God damn it, Zoo, you broke it.
I don't know what I did.
I'm going to use this lull to mention I got to step off, guys. But sorry to interrupt, Brandon.
Oh,
but
take it
I'll
easy,
be
Rush.
listening in the
No,
chat.
no worries.
Rush, thanks
Take
for
care, guys.
stopping in.
Coming,
buddy.
Rush.
That's so weird that Emily can't be heard when
Yeah,
we're
Emily
all on the same.
specifically.
That
We're all on
sucks. So
the
here's
same
what we're
channel.
gonna do. I need somebody to translate for Emily because we want her perspective.
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect. Okay, so Emily's gonna talk, and then you're gonna kind of paraphrase what she said. Do it well,
Yeah.
please.
What a mess.
Which speaking of, can someone link the YouTube?
Yeah, I got a
not-
shareable link. Let me grab that real quick.
Yeah, put it
Alright,
in general.
Is it in share your content?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have it right here then.
But I definitely agree with Emily there because sadly, I think the attention span of so many gamers is so tiny that if there is a hiccup or something they didn't expect in that first like hour of the game, they'll walk away from it.
100%. Yeah, attention spans are shrinking. And actually, the reason for that has a lot to do with marketing. As we've been bombarded with advertisement as a defensive mechanism, our psychology has shrunk our defensive mechanism. It has shrunk our attention span. And so there's a lot of studies that indicate that. So now it's at like 7 to 9 seconds, depending on which scientist you ask.
And you had a good point with Allie last night, where Allie said that she was playing a game, and in the first like 2 hours, she was like, "I don't think I'm going to finish this," and then she pushed through it, and it became one of her favorite games. And I think that if more people had that mindset, they might experience some amazing things.
Okay. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I did with Trails of Cold Steel, and now I'm caught up and in the middle of Kuro. So
yeah, Cold Steel also on the list. But what did Emily have to say about that? If you could translate that for us, Florist.
Just that the first like 30 minutes to an hour or so of the game was not exactly what people were like maybe expecting from Fire Emblem, especially because of Three Houses. Which actually, to add to that, I think a big disconnect between Fire Emblem others and Fire Emblem Three Houses is the class, the like how you pick the class, because like there's this thing that people who are just getting into Three Houses expect, where you get your army right away, and they're not used to the fact that there's a pattern for the rest of the games for sure, not only in terms of like how you're unlocking people, but like which units you're unlocking when. And I think that that might have been like, oh, how am I supposed to work with like just 4 characters for the first map?
Okay, gotcha.
Real quick, hey, Emily, can you try? I want to see if she reconnected. Let's see if Zoo can hear.
Yeah, I can't hear anything, unfortunately. And that sucks. I just checked on messages. I was wondering maybe she's muted on my end, but she's not muted. Maybe if we give her
Mandy,
admin,
can you
maybe
hear?
that will. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Is there a way to transfer it over to her?
If you could change your audio output to the Discord, then at least you'd be able to hear her.
Okay, let me try to do that real quick. Let me see here. Oh, goodness.
That might pick up on StreamYards too. Zoo, it's because you're using ancient technology in StreamYards. That's like from like 1990.
Is that I'm using ancient boomer tech?
The FBI was using that to monitor us in 1988.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, we'll have to maybe switch over to Streamlabs for the next one, but yeah, that sucks. I'll make it up to you, Em. I promise. We're going to have you on the show, just me and you. Sucks. And I'm too drunk and tech stupid to do anything about it.
It'd be like that.
All right. Well, we're gonna do the translation, I guess. It blows.
Well, let's try it again. She just reloaded the app.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like he does. Unfortunate. It's weird because now I'm watching from the YouTube and like your thing doesn't like light up at all for him.
It's fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
and it does for me when you're talking, like when I'm looking in Discord, but that only like goes to continue the point of like, why is this one specific problem happening?
Why don't we try restarting the call, not the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Everyone
Let's all
leave
disconnect.
Zoo,
and
Voice
then,
hey,
chat
Zoo.
and go back in.
Zoo, hang on
yeah,
one
I'm
second.
gonna back out,
Zoo.
and then Emily, I want you to come in first.
Wait,
Zoo,
really
wait,
quick.
Zoo.
Yep.
Can you try something for me?
Yeah.
Right click on Emily's picture here.
Okay.
Does it say mute? Is it checked?
Mute is not checked.
It's not checked. Okay, that was my best guess. Okay,
So everyone,
Yeah.
yeah, I see it.
so I'm seeing it, but if Zoo's not seeing it, I was thinking there's got to be something in his app.
Yeah, mute is not checked. So let's
So
all
Zoo,
exit,
go ahead and
we'll
leave the
jump
stream
right back
going, and we will all leave the voice chat and then re-enter.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
bouncing out.
Wouldn't be a liquored up live if we didn't have some kind of technical bullshit.
Just that. Okay.
I can
So
hear
you
her.
guys can stream. Oh, you can hear?
Oh, let's go.
All righty. So Boomer problem resolved. Sorry, Emily, and I will make that up to you. I've been meaning to have you on one-on-one for a while.
It's all right. There's always technical difficulties whenever you try one of these things, right?
Oh, especially
The
with
cold
me.
crew did
I'm
it together.
All righty.
There's
So
larger
so much I
conversation
want to
I want
ask.
to bring up, maybe, about the sensationalism of, I think, game reviews this year because of just how many there are.
Okay.
And we've been seeing so many like extreme takes on certain games, like Forspoken earlier this year, Hogwarts Legacy for political reasons, and it's just been, I think, a lot in Final Fantasy 16. So I wonder if that kind of is feeding into some of what we saw maybe in Engage. They've been trying to, make a very sensationalist kind of viewpoint in reviews, and everyone was kind of just, following that narrative.
Well, here's my thing on all of that. Like, so for example, Final Fantasy 16, like I'm very careful because, people who say that's a bad game are full of shit. That's not a bad game.
No.
It's a game I don't like, but I can't say it's a bad game.
It wasn't made poorly, I don't think.
Exactly.
Can
And so
I
there's a
say
difference
my
between-
non-spoiler version of why I don't like it? And I was actually just talking about it with the 1825 today.
Okay.
Because he just finished it. Almost no character in that game at the end has been able to achieve what they set out to do. And I don't want to say more than that because it's going into major spoiler territory. But
with me,
literally no character does except for one off the top of my head. And
with
it's like
me,
a
and
side
I'm told I
character
need to
of side characters.
I'm told I need to give it longer. But with me, I have to give credit to Jim Stephanie Sterling on this. They're the one that pointed it out. I can't get out of my fucking head. The way that they portray the oppression of the magic users in this game, like you're literally talking about a world that literally these people would fucking starve without the magic users. And yet they're treated so bad and they just fucking eat that shit. Like, it's just some serious Yes Massive vibes in that shit. Like there's this one point where this guy's like, "Oi, you piece of shit, go kill those monsters on my farm, and how you better get to stepping right now, you." And you're just like, "Yeah, I got to do that. I can't let the villagers get killed." And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "Why? Let the monsters eat these fuckers. Like, why not?" It's just kind of that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely weird. I think part of it was about the fact that, like, in our real world, historically, we've, like, the elite has had to rely on the working class to make any progress with their own wealth and gain.
Well, but these weren't elites, though, Flores. These were peasants treating me like shit.
With the context of, like, a magic world where you need magic to run the world in its entirety, the analogy didn't really set.
Right. I mean, I'm getting yelled at by a peasant on his farm. I'm not getting yelled at by one of the elites. Like,
yeah.
If I could steer us back towards what Emily was asking, the kind of sensationalism,
oh
which
yes,
led to Final Fantasy 16. So my thought on this, and I feel like I'm right, but maybe you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, is we decided kind of collectively as a culture that we don't want to pay for content, right? We don't want to pay for the news. We don't want to pay for magazines or things like that we used to, right?
Mhm.
So the only way that these people that are writing video game reviews, writing for game publications can make money is to be as sensationalist as possible. Since we don't want to pay for the content, they need advertisers, and they will get, the advertisers will get those eyeballs any way they can. And the best way to do it is to piss people off or to, divide people as much as you possibly can.
Well, I will
There's
say
competition too.
specifically for 16, maybe I just wasn't seeing these ads in particular, but I don't think any of the advertisement was like particularly sensationalized. I remember it just being like incredibly like cinematic.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not
journos.
talking about in terms of the advertising. I'm talking about like game journalism or reviewers or things
Their
that
headlines, clickbait.
Yeah. Even then, once again, I maybe just missed it. I tried to ignore FF16 discourse because I was already feeling so middling about it before it came out. But I feel the only like real discourse I saw over and over again was people whether they wanted to consider it a Final Fantasy or not, and that felt like very in-house.
So I definitely saw only sensational things. It was either this game is hot garbage or it's the greatest game ever. Those are the only things I saw come up on YouTube. And I can say that I think that we have some responsibility as consumers of these reviews and this information, just like we do with the news. Anyone that gets their news from Fox News or CNN is an idiot. And
Sorry,
because
really quick,
that coverage is so tainted by the views that the people that are covering those things have. So I think that we have to either get our reviews, if we're going to consume them, from a varied group of creators, or we need to go in blind and make the decision for ourselves.
Really quick, before we continue this conversation, someone in chat just said that they can't hear Emily again.
Oh shit.
Where?
Maybe it's just as an issue if he just leaves and rejoins really quick and might fix it, but that's the only thing.
Well, give me 1 second.
Here, Emily.
What might be the easiest thing is for me to back so you guys can have a conversation.
You're
That way
lighting up on the
they
screen.
can know.
No, because I can hear you. But chat, real quick, chat. Can you hear her now? Because I just heard her.
Here, wait. I'm gonna mute on here and then listen on the stream.
Oh, man, you can hear me. That's good.
Yeah, if Mandy hears her, I'm pretty sure it's fine.
Man, okay,
This
so
is-
we're good. We're good, Emily.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I think
Hmm.
that we have a responsibility to consume those things in a varied manner so that we don't give ourselves poor impressions and miss out on something we'd really enjoy or waste our time on garbage. I think I don't know about you guys. It's not really something I've talked about with any of you. I literally don't read reviews at all. If I see the cover of a game, I'm a sucker enough to just buy it and try it.
Just you guys.
Yeah, that's real.
Just you guys.
It can be expensive though.
That's why
I don't.
I'm
So I think-
broke.
I don't listen
It's very
to.
difficult to tell everyone to do that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't listen
It's my
to reviews, but I do listen to you guys. So if you put out a review, because I listen to my friends essentially. So if my friend tells me go check this game out, like for example, Mandy told me to check out Amori. Emily has told me check out Tales, which it's on the list and it's coming soon, by the way. Nishquick told me to check out Xenoblade 2. That's kind of what moves games up the list. Now, these are games I've already bought, but in terms of games I play, because that's more the real commodity for me isn't money. I'm not worried about that. The real commodity for me is time. That's the one thing we can't get more out of. And ultimately, at the end of the day, time is the real currency because what do you work for? You go to work and you trade your time for whatever the currency is. And so that's what I'm more worried about. And so where do I put my time versus where I put my money is kind of more important to me.
Right.
And I do that.
Time is a
based on-
finite commodity for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's getting harder too because of remake culture. It's like, oh, I have all these new games that I want to play, and I have all these old games that look really pretty now.
It's a hard balance for sure.
Yeah,
And
that's been my
I think
Pikmin 2
everyone's gonna
struggle right
struggle with.
now.
Well, and shout out to Emily's budgeting video on her channel. Fantastic video. So if anybody needs help with that, once again, great content. Check her content out on that ASAP. She's got some absolute bangers. Like she has the box opening videos. Those are cool as hell. But a lot of people don't know she also occasionally does content that is very informative. Things like navigating Japanese websites for deals. Things like what she just posted as far as like the budgeting video. Things about the longevity of Nintendo Switch cards, where she puts it in a very succinct, nice format. So definitely be on the lookout for that content because she does that too, and it's very useful for this kind of thing.
Thank you, Sue. I do like, the educational twist on my channel sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I guess educator in me.
Yeah, and that's what your background is in education, right?
It's academia. It's related.
Gotcha. Oh,
to push back to the topic.
Lorst. Yeah.
Just to push back to the topic, I think when we're talking about advertising, I don't read reviews because honestly, especially now that I'm banned on Twitter, I don't see them anymore. But I feel like personally, I've always just tried to find any gameplay clips, and then I go from there.
Wait a second, how the fuck did you get banned on Twitter?
Like
that guy doesn't ban anybody anymore.
Someone was being transphobic. So I said some not very nice things to them.
Gave it to them both
about
barrels.
That.
So you lost your account. You probably can make a new account, but it's
I
depending
probably
if you want to or not.
Is it worth it at this point?
I don't think it's worth it.
Weird.
Loki, I've been having a lot of fun with Blue Sky. It's really nice. And people are a lot more engaged on it. I get more interaction with under 50 followers on Blue Sky than I had with 300 on Twitter.
And Planet X has become such a fucking dumpster fire.
It's kind of like the League of Legends of social media in that it's not even particularly worse than being on other platforms, but it's just kind of known for being the worst now.
Oh my god. I'll tell you, now the last straw for me was they literally lock your ability to message people unless you're directly you can't message anybody unless you're a Prime member now.
Oh, they took away all DMs? Not even the 100
DM people. It's a limit, yeah.
Well, not only is there a limit, but if you try to DM somebody outside your friends group, they won't let you.
Oh, that's only if someone didn't reset their settings to accept all DMs. The default is you have to have the blue check.
I'd have to do that at one point.
Oh, so that's not Twitter Prime bullshit then. Okay.
No. It's a default.
It was one of those hidden rules
people,
things. Yeah, I had to find out about it from people retweeting it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm cheap and I'm obstinate and I'm stubborn and I'm not paying for fucking Twitter. That is not. You already get paid because it's free.
Nor should you.
You already get my fucking metadata. I'm not paying you anymore. That's worth its weight in gold. Fuck off.
I just finally broke down and paid for Discord. The $3 is actually kind of worth it. I don't think I'm gonna upgrade though.
Some of those emojis, like that dancing jelly emoji, I want so bad.
Oh yeah, I have some great ones now. It's actually really nice.
I want my dancing pudding.
We're only two server boosts away from better audio for these calls, folks.
Oh,
I
cool.
unfortunately would have to do the $10 one.
Now explain that to me in very simple terms. How do I do a server boost for you?
So if you I pay for the $10 one, and I only did that because I'm running a medium-sized server, and it allows you to do 2 boosts that you can do to your own server or to other people's. And there's a cumulative amount of boosts per month that allow for better streaming video, better streaming audio, more emojis. I think that if you don't do a lot of audio streaming or video streaming, that it's not really worth it. I wanted to do it because of the watch parties catching on, and I wanted to try to get better quality for that. So it can be helpful for stuff like that or this. But yeah, I mean, it gives you access to like different stuff, and I know it sounds mundane, but like it was cool to be able to make like a banner for my profile and stuff. Probably no one ever looks at it, but
Well, walk me.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait, how do I look
Later
at
on
that?
in DMs, walk me through
Oh,
that, and I'll give you the boost we
okay.
need. I'll do that for us.
but it was good. It was fun. I've had fun with it, and I'll tell you that Discord was my answer to X. I still use Twitter to promote my videos because people like, like M's got a ton, I have a ton, Allie has a ton.
Right.
Those of us that have put in the time to get 15, 2,000, 2,500 followers, like that is a resource, as tainted as X may be, to get your videos out there, to get your opinions out there.
Yeah,
So I
Twitter
can't
is
walk
so-
away from it.
Twitter's
Like, I
Yeah,
still
I've
the
had
thought
people
best.
tell me they
100%.
discovered me on Twitter rather than YouTube. So I think it's worth it.
It's
Yeah.
still by far the best social media to like have and like use.
It's
for,
as
still
far
the
as
public
personal
square.
communication,
I think it is like a weird in between time where picking up an extra one and like figuring out if you can do that is the best move.
Okay.
but as far as personal communication, I've absolutely preferred the Discord over everything.
Yeah.
And I originally thought that I would be one of those people that like double posted everything. Half the stuff I don't even care about. I share it with my friends on Discord, and I'm happy because just like you said, Florist, I'll get more reactions from the 45 people in the Discord than I will my 1,700 followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. So that's why I've liked Discord.
There's a lot of
100%.
lurkers on Twitter, so I'm not surprised.
100%. So, other thing I wanted to kind of ask everybody about, because Allie and I had a great convo yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about this, and I was also talking with Belmont last night with Radbash and Belmont. And like one of the things that came up is the fact that Metroidvanias, they just seem to have a hard time for the most part breaking into that mainstream, right? And so does a game like Castlevania. So a game like Castlevania, this legendary fucking IP that everybody knows and everybody plays, but yet nobody bought the fucking games. Like I was shocked when Belmont showed me these sales figures, like top out. It's literally it's Castlevania Lords of Shadow with 1.7 million is the best that franchise ever fucking did. Otherwise, you're talking like 1.1, 1.3. So it's
Actually,
pretty wild to me that a franchise that legendary just doesn't seem to fucking translate to sales. But it got me thinking. Oh, go ahead, Flores.
Oh, I was gonna say I actually know a little bit about this. So for Castlevania specifically, the biggest problem that they've faced throughout like the entire series is that it was only until Lords of Shadow that Konami ever decided to care. Like even after Symphony of the Night was as well received as it was, it still sold like crap because they did not like even want to put it on their radar. They didn't want to like associate themselves with the franchise in its entirety. And then they got rid of the director, I forget his name at the moment. But then they decided, okay, there's enough people that like Castlevania, so now if we're going to do it, we need to go all out. But then
Konami gonna Konami because Konami is the fucking worst.
Yeah, it's literally just, but like a genuine amount of it was just them being the worst. It's crazy how much
and that's Konami for sure. But there's a whole genre like the Metroidvania that gets a lot of replay, but not a lot of sales that translates to.
I think that a big part of it, the most recent one that I played was in the Momodora series. And I think that part of it is that games like the Momodora series and like Hollow Knight put a shit ton of effort into the character design, the art featured in the game, and the story depth is incredible. So what they may lack comparatively in gameplay to something like Metroid or Castlevania, I think they make up with the eccentric and beautiful art styles and character designs. And I know that I've seen a lot of the more indie games, and I'm not downing them, but they don't have that level of artistic talent, maybe. Maybe they just don't have someone that can do it. But I think that games that are very stylistic in that genre, if more of them were to be like that, I think you would see a huge rise in sales. Like, for instance, if you had more like Momodora that had an anime art style, I think you would see that sales would rise.
Look at Hades, all the Supergiant games. They're like a AAA indie.
Yeah,
and
Hades
they're
is moving
super
up, but definitely
stylized. They're
moving
beautiful.
downstream. Yeah.
I think the other thing is like even just talking about like gaming like as a space, because obviously like we're all more involved than a lot of people, right?
100%.
You have your people that like do like like your Street Fighters and your Mortal Kombats. You have people who like know Mario and Sonic. You have people that like know some RPGs. I feel like Metroidvanias are like still popular, but on like the next layer of like being a gamer. If that makes sense.
Well, and that's what brings me to my point here, and that is that I'm guilty of this. OJ from Player Essence, like we're both really guilty of being like evil kings of numbers, like the salespeople, like sales. But when you look at a franchise like Castlevania, you look at a genre like Metroidvania, like the question needs to be asked of game developers and game companies that when it comes to value of games, how much of that value is coming from the replay and not necessarily that sale? And of course, people like me are often said, well, I've said it before. It's like, well, the replay value doesn't, the sales are all that matters, basically. A sale of a game not replayed versus one constantly replayed is the same. It's one sale. But is it? Because like we see games that are ports or remasters that sell precisely to those who wish to replay a game. That's the whole point of that right there. Super Mario Brothers 1, for example, outsold Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World. And people say that that's a bundle, but I would argue that that actually makes the sales of Super Mario Brothers 1 stronger because Super Mario Brothers 1 was a $200 game in 1986. You were buying the box to get the fucking Mario. But however, if you look at what people reach for when they replay, yeah, sometimes you get Mario Brothers 1, but it is almost always Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World. And so when people replay 2D Mario games, that's what they're reaching for. At least they don't reach back to Mario 1 enough in terms of the replay. So my point is to say that the IP strength isn't necessarily gauged by sales, but by replays. The IP of Mario right now is more aligned with Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers 3 than Super Mario Brothers 1 or the new Super Mario series, which is why they finally took a risk with Wonder. Metroid is a series that is more replayed than ever having its initial sales. And that would explain why you have such a passion for a game that really never sold that well, even in 1986 compared to its other brother and sister games. I think everybody will agree that earlier iterations of Zelda are games that are quicker to finish and easier to play. And I think that adds to replay value. But I guess the ultimate point I'm getting to here is that look at the game like Wonder, right? I do expect that if that game is good, then it's going to join Mario 3 and Mario World and being replayed over and over and over and again and again and again, irregardless of its sales, whether it sells 20 million copies or 40 million copies. But I do expect ultimately, and I see this a lot with Nintendo games, whether it's Dread or otherwise, that the sales will rise, but the IP values are moving in the other direction. People are replaying these games less and less. And so I think that there is a serious lack of focus on replay value and and I'm going to call this IP value versus the value of that single sale. And I think people like me are responsible for that in large part, like me on a much lesser level, but there's other people that do this too that are much larger than I.
Well, speaking to the replayability, I think a lot of it has to do with the price of games back then and the amount of variety. And also, I think if we look back to our younger selves, we only had a handful of games, right?
Yes.
So we tend to replay those. So I think maybe that's what you're speaking more towards. Than,
yeah, if I get 2 games a year, I'm going to play the crap out of those.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that.
Today.
So yeah, definitely like I remember the NES, like when we got our NES, one of the things I remember is not only that, and I still remember that box of games that Dad brought home, and eventually want to get my dad on here to talk about this and separate kind of the false memory from the actual memory. But what I remember greatly is I remember the box of games, but I also remember the stream of neighborhood kids coming over to also play the NES, not because they didn't have an NES, a lot of them did, but because I had different games than they had. Nobody had all the games because of cartridge shortages, because of game availability. So for example, one of the things I often talk about is a game like Zelda 2 and Mario Brothers 2 that came out in 1988. Their sales are actually suppressed because those games had a cartridge shortage, and they didn't get their second run until well after the Super Nintendo was already out. And so people would literally go across state lines. There's a great John Stossel piece that shows that they would go across state lines and they would stand in lines literally 100 long just to try to have the opportunity to be one of the 5 copies of Super Mario Brothers 2 or Zelda 2 that showed up. And that contributes a lot. Like when I have Contra and my buddy has Mega Man 2, we don't have that same game. And so, yeah, that I would guess that would lead to a lot more replayability than what we have now, where we have a giant backlog that could choke a fucking rhino.
I think going back really quick to like how replayability might impact like future titles and like sales in general, or like how a game is viewed in terms of success. I think the important thing to keep in mind with that is that every single console, including PC, tracks hours played. They know. And so I think the first developer to like really stand out and be like a like GOAT per se in this generation is the one that looks at that more than others do, rather than just seeing the sales as the bottom line.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that there's a huge swath of sales that we don't properly track, and that is secondhand sales through places like GameStop and pawn shops.
Yes.
I just spent $220 on Xenosaga 3, and that's going completely unchecked.
I think that games that are like Souls-like or Metroidvanias are much more likely to be played, completed, traded in, and then bought again. And those sales will not be captured in the sales numbers you get from Konami or Nintendo or Sony.
Right.
So I think that a lot of those niche genres may actually have adjusted sales volume that's much higher. Now that doesn't help their producers. Nintendo ain't getting any of that. But as far as the reach of the IP and the belovedness of the IP, I think that those numbers would be important to see. Does anyone track those at all, Zoo?
Yeah.
No. Really? They track those numbers?
Oh, no, they don't track those. I'm just saying 100%. It would definitely speak to the health of the IP versus the health of the sales.
I was gonna say.
I wish somebody would track those if there was even a way to fucking do
it's feasible.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
Themselves, they know what goes through their their systems, and they could track it online. But
yeah, but there's no way to like correlate that data into one place, sadly.
No, well, they wouldn't, I think, give that out publicly.
Right.
Maybe that's a way that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking with Metroidvanias, so excuse my ignorance in, I guess, video game history, but would you say maybe that genre is more of like a cult classic like you see in films? And so it's kind of having a bit of a resurgence now with the indies and like Hollow Knight, kind of rekindling that genre. So maybe that's also speaking to why there's such a difference in sales back then compared to now.
They do seem to be games made for the downstream customers versus the upstream mass market, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem is that, like, kind of like what I was saying earlier, how it's like kind of on a different level than something like Mario or Sonic would be. It's not that the genre isn't popular, it's that some people consider it like a platformer, some people consider it like an action game. Like, I don't think the terminology is all the way there.
Yeah, like Rush said, Metroid back in the day was just called an action-adventure game.
Yeah. I also think that part of it is the difficulty and accessibility of the games, too. Just like with the Souls games, there is a huge portion of gamers, especially casual gamers, that have no interest in playing Dark Souls or Metroid Dread. And never will.
Yeah, Metroid Dread will kick the fuck out of you. Like, Dark Souls is a little bit different. Like I've always said, I don't understand people saying Souls is difficult because part of this is I played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and I played Battletoads. And also I've recently been foraying into Fear and Hunger, and that game's not just hard. That game is fucking cruel.
That's impossible, yeah.
That game is
you need to know exactly what you're gonna do, and then you're still gonna die like halfway through.
Oh my god, like that game is fucking cursed, like literally. And it's not helping my reputation as Mungan Loot either.
For me, what makes Souls-likes hard is that, for context, when it comes to like action games and like games where I'm like not an RPG in general, I very much like align myself with characters that have like high movement, high speed. And it's why something like Kingdom Hearts 2 critical mode, it feels comparatively like a breeze for me because I have those kinds of tools. But starting a Souls-like, it is so painfully slow for me,
Yeah.
and I just can't
The
get used
patience
to
for
it.
those types of games.
Basically,
It's
yeah, and
not
that's
even
it's
like
yeah,
sometimes
it's
not
not
even
so much
patience to like
difficulty.
get better. It's like the patience just to wait for the swing. Like
Uh-huh.
every attack feels really slow.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a call and response style of gameplay, almost pattern recognition, really. If you have the pattern down, typically speaking, you can they're very fair games. It's just a matter of do you
Yeah.
have the patience to learn every single fucking
Mhm.
enemy and boss.
Yeah, but then that's also like because Kingdom Hearts 2, once you're doing critical mode, that's every single boss. Is like figuring out what the pattern is, figuring out when you can attack during it. But for Dark Souls, I don't know what it is. Once again, it's just that like the swings are too slow. Like I feel like I wait forever for an enemy to start an attack, like compared to something like Kingdom Hearts, and it just keeps me more stimulated.
So, quick roundtable. I want to go around and get everybody's perspective. So, I've been playing recently, aside from Morrowind, which is kind of my eternal bugbear, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. So more like Baldur's Gate 3 because I am a ballin' ass dragon who is going to be like the Lady Slayer. And this has led to some really fun emergent gameplay. Because the way the dragons look, dragons are not super like. So I pick my dragon and I'm like, okay, this dude is gonna be like the Lady Slayer. And then my dragon gets on there because that's kind of the joke of the game is like everybody's fucking horny. And I get my character going there, and like this character is basically going to be like a character who just wants to fight everybody and then also try to pick up on everybody. And then like the character speaks and it's got and the character has the lady voice. I'm like, I'm like, we're gonna run with this. And so it is Miss Trogdor now. And it's that kind of emergent gameplay. And I love this character and going through this now. And I'm playing the exact same way. But you're going to probably get to see. Apparently, you can plow a bear in this game, which is like fucking ridiculous, but it's there.
Not
Um.
quite. You are the bear.
Oh, you
Yeah,
are the.
you're
So
shape
maybe I won't get to because I'm
Yeah,
not a
so
druid.
you have to druid class.
Okay. Okay. So you're the bear. Okay. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, I've got to just gush about the emergent gameplay in these games. Like if you have a water bottle, so basically my dragon is a storm mage. And so what you do is you chuck water at them. And then when they get soaked, you can then zap them for double damage. Just shit like that. Or you drop a candle and then you can dip your arrow in fire. Like it's just all kinds of shit that I haven't really seen since Ultima. They're immensely complex games, but they're so rewarding. Like when you're not getting your face punched through your ass, because they're very hard. But is anybody else playing Baldur's Gate 3 or have any interest in Baldur's Gate 3? And do we think it's gonna take Game of the Year with Mario Wonder on the horizon? So I guess we'll start. Brandon, what do you think, man?
I have interest in it, which is surprising because I've never had any interest in any Baldur's Gate and very few like Western style RPGs in general. I've enjoyed some Bethesda like Fallout games, but that's
Right.
kind of been it. But Baldur's Gate 3 has piqued my interest quite a bit. I have not picked it up yet. I'm scared of what might happen when I do, because of just the immensity of it and the immensity of the games that I need to play.
Right.
But I am interested. I am interested for sure.
Well, you can always just tune into me and watch the adventures of Miss Trogdor the Thunderstrucker.
Yes, live vicariously through your
Yes. And Jay, how about you?
No interest.
No interest whatsoever. Emily, how about
No,
you?
and
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Jay, did you want to continue?
I was just gonna say no interest, and I don't think that as sensational as people are making it out to be, I don't think it has any chance to be Game of the Year either. I don't think it's bad. I've watched people play it; it looks pretty cool. Just not something for me, and I don't think it's at the level that would win Game of the Year.
What do you think's going to win?
I mean, I don't get to pick it, but
No, it's a
it will
guess.
likely be Mario.
Mario Wonder.
If I picked it, it would be Engage, but
A personal pick would be Mario Engage. Yeah, if we're predicting who the
Mario Engage.
Mario Engage, yeah. Fuck.
How-
But if
Mine would be
you're
Pizza
predicting
Redeem.
who Dorito Pope is going to crown Game of the Year, like
it will be Mario,
I
or maybe
it,
16. One
Mario
of those
looks
two.
so good. And Emily, how about you?
Interest, though I've never played D&D or, that type of gameplay. Though I do hear it's really fun when you play it with other people so that you have like a party that goes out.
That's awesome
I
sounding.
don't
Yeah,
see
I haven't
myself
done
playing
that.
it anytime soon though.
Yeah, the backlog, right? Again, I've got to
The
get some fucking
backlog.
Switch reviews done, man.
And then like I guess it's out on the PS5 now, but it's not going to be like on the actual disc fully, even though I think in Japan they have it, but it's not. I think there's a big download. I don't know. That always just makes me wait for it to be like hugely discounted before I give it a try.
100%. And Florist, how about you?
I didn't think I was going to be interested. Having seen gameplay, I'm like into the idea, but I'm waiting for a sale before I like commit myself to it.
Yeah, and I've
Especially
got
'cause,
about
like-
an hour. I got about 2 hours into it. If you want to check out and see what it looks like on my channel, so
Oh hell yeah!
definitely take a look. It's got some really great comedy gold moments too.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it looks fun. The problem for me is just I'm just finishing Minish Cap. I'm in the middle of Paper Mario. I'm in the middle of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I have all 3 Xenosaga games. I want to replay Xenoblade after that. In terms of whether it's going to win Game of the Year, once again, it was big and blew up not only in its market but outside of its market. But Final Fantasy 16 came out this year. There's going to be Alan Wake 2. There's going to be Mario. There's a couple releases already that I'm forgetting that people are considered. Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom, yeah. Tears of the Kingdom, definitely a
so
contender.
I think it's like kind of just hit that weird market where it's like
now you say there's
really good and it blew up
you say there's a sequel to Alan Wake too?
Alan Wake 2 is coming out later this month.
Yeah, I just googled it. I'm not seeing a sequel to Alan Wake 2.
No, sorry, the game Alan Wake 2 is coming out next month.
Or yeah, I'm not seeing Alan Wake 2. I just don't see it. Oh well, I guess.
Oh yeah, I actually want to say it's next week.
He's
yeah.
Yeah, he knows he's it's not
He's
coming
very
out physically, so he can't see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Starfield also came out, so that's
Yeah.
like
So
just another
Alan
one
Wake
competing
2 would be God. Somebody should make that. I hear Alan Wake 1 is great.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed out on the joke.
No, you're good. You're good. So, is everybody excited for Mario Wonder, or is it just my dork ass?
I am.
I'm very excited.
I'm playing as much Sonic Superstars as I can before it comes out, and then
How
I'm
is
just
Sonic
switching right over to
Superstars?
Wonder. It comes out on Wednesday, so I will let you
Okay.
know.
Gotcha. Yeah, not out yet. Yeah, I forgot it's coming out like pretty close to Wonder, and
Yeah,
man,
3 days
how
before.
fucking surreal is it that we got a Legend of Zelda game, a 2D classic Sonic game, and a genuine return to form for Mario in one fucking year?
Not to mention, within the same year, obviously Tekken 8 is coming out a little bit later, but we're getting Street Fighter Revival, Mortal Kombat Revival,
Jeez,
and Tekken
yeah,
Revival. It's a really
It feels
weird-
like the 90s again, guys.
Yeah.
Like it feels great, but
It
yeah,
has so
Mario
much.
Wonder is either going to break my heart in a way that you can't even imagine, or it's going to literally turn me into like a fucking 5-year-old kid again.
I think the nice part for me about Mario is I was never super connected to it. So like me not vibing with Breath of the Wild like broke me because Wind Waker was like my first game. But like I think if Wonder doesn't do so hot, I don't think I face as much repercussion from that as you do.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna be heartbroken if it's bad.
I hear the demo's fun at Target.
Yeah, I played it. It seems really good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where I fell in love and all my worries went away. It's gonna sound so stupid. So usually Mario's got that dumbass voice. And every time he jumps, and no, when you jump, you hear a boing sound. And when I heard that, I'm like, we're home. Chewie, we're home.
Well,
Bye.
Tony.
Are we doing?
Hi,
Hello.
Tony.
Tony, what's going on? You stuck? I didn't even see you, man. I guess it's the alcohol.
Snuck
What's
in.
up, buddy? Tony's in the house. What do you think, Tony? What are you thinking about Wonder?
I actually did play it in GameStop the other day. It was, I don't know, I picked the little thief guy or whatever. I don't know what character it is, but he didn't seem like he could use any of the power-ups. I don't know.
No, he
I
can't.
only
I
played
think
it
yeah,
for
like
like
he and
15 minutes.
Toadette aren't allowed to, or something like that.
They're invulnerable though, right? Like they
Yes.
can't die. Is that okay?
Oh,
You have to fall down a hole with Nabbit in order to
didn't
die.
get a very good impression probably since I couldn't use like the elephant or anything else.
Yeah,
But it
Nabbit's-
seems, I mean, it was
Nabbit's for the
beautiful.
kids.
The backgrounds were really really high quality. So
the more I see of the
know.
art style and the music, so I was kind of worried with the Ba showing up in the first trailer, and I got to tell you, if you play the game, it's almost not there except the very beginning of that first level.
Zoo, let me ask you: do the monsters still dance to the music?
No.
Okay, thank God, because that always made me that made me feel like a monster. Like I'm running through this landscape, and these little happy critters are dancing along, and I'm murdering them. I'm like jumping on their heads and crushing them, and they're just trying to have a good time, right? Like
You should have just jumped over them.
I should have, but I was trained by all these other Mario games. You got to kill these guys.
You got to do a pacifist playthrough.
Nope, that's a decision,
Just do
though.
one
That's
of
a
those, like,
decision, though,
0-point
Brandon.
runs.
Because it's the same thing with breaking blocks. A lot of people don't know this, that in the first game that Bowser, or King Koopa at the time, was a dark wizard who turned the toads into blocks. So every time you break a block, you're killing a toad. Those are decisions.
Right.
Those are choices you
That's
make.
right. Remember that manual, that NES manual.
Which is why 0 points is the only canonical way to play Mario.
Yeah.
That's the pacifist run, yep. Yep, pacifist run for real. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm very excited, and we will see. Again, as you've seen with my Zelda critiques, I am a very, very hard sell on these. I have a very high standard. Nintendo, once where it was able to meet that standard, they recently have begun to meet these standards again, and I just hope they can follow suit with Mario. It's the most important game. If they knock this one out of the park, this has the potential for a 40 million seller. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. So Tony, you came a little bit late, so I want to give you an opportunity. Anything you want to discuss in particular? Let's let you throw a topic out there.
I don't know. I didn't have anything particular in mind. I kind of just wanted to hop in and say hi to everybody.
Oh yeah, man. It's been great. We're gonna have to do more open bars for sure. I love this. This has been great. We got to get you on the show at some point. We're gonna have the philosophy wonk discussion at some point between me and Tony.
Yeah, I'm a little bit afraid that we're gonna end up talking for 8 hours or something. But
if it happens, it happens.
Let's see.
If it happens, it happens. Let's do it. Let's blow the whole fucking StreamYards like free streaming amount of time. Let's do it for the month. I got that the other day. It's like this fucking stupid duck app, and it's like, oh yeah, you just so you know, you've used 10 hours of streaming time. Like, get bent, fuck out of here.
There's a limit on it.
Yeah, there's a limit on because I don't pay for shit. So yeah, there's a limit on it. I have to have that stupid fucking duck emoji like on here too. But that's okay. So I guess what next thing we'll do is I always give an opportunity for my guest to do an AMA, ask me anything. So anybody have any questions for me before we get to the comment section? Don't all jump at once.
I have a sort of a fun question, I guess.
Okay.
So I maybe have an idea of what your answer to this would be, but so Zoo, do you think that there is any objective standard for whether or not a video game is good?
Yes, actually. But it's the objective standard is going to be individualized. So for example, you have two people. You have me and you have like Flores. Now, Flores, you said your first Zelda was Wind Waker, right?
Yeah.
Is that also your favorite?
It kind of flips from time to time. I would say either that or actually no, my all-time favorite Zelda is Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds. Okay, that's a really good
Good
pick.
one.
So there are people that like Wind Waker and think Wind Waker is the bee's knees. And there's people like me that can't fucking stand any Enuma Zelda game. In terms of that. And so the person who enjoys the Enuma Zelda game, although much fewer than the people who enjoy classical Zelda, will have entirely different opinions on the quality of those games. Like, for example, there's a lot of people that can't stand Zelda 2. I think Zelda 2 is a fucking masterpiece. So I think there is an objective standard that exists within each of us. However, in terms of a consensus opinion, I don't think one exists because I don't think that we can really. I think human beings have a hard time coming together and describing an objective reality. Like, imagine, I've used this example before. Imagine bees that are all on the outside of a church stained glass window, and the bees can't. They don't know anything about their brains are limited by their cognition, so the bees can't see the interior of the church. They can see the interior, but only through that specific color they land on. The bees don't know why the church was built. The bees don't know the function of the church. They don't know who built the church. They only see the inside of the church. And so each bee will come away with a very, very different perspective based on the window pane they land on. And people will say, well, that's nonsense, Zoo, that you're saying we're like dumb bees. Oh, no, we're far worse than dumb bees. We're curious bees. We want to know the right answer, but yet our cognition is limited in our ability to discern reality properly. And so I think we each have an objective standard. My objective standard is set in stone and it is firm. But another person will have a completely different objective standard, and we will argue till the end of fucking time whether Enuma Zelda is shit or whether Enuma Zelda is fantastic. So I hope that answers the question as good as I could.
Yeah, and your church analogy actually is similar to an analogy used in philosophy a lot, which is the four blind men and the elephant.
Correct.
You've heard of that one?
Yes.
Yeah, where there's four blind people who are all trying to study this object and figure out what it is. In reality, it's an elephant, but they're all touching different parts of it and describing different things. So they disagree with each other, and they sort of argue about what this thing is in its essence, but it's because they're all grasping different parts.
We have. Yeah, and that's a good analogy because that's exactly what we're doing. We've all read different books. We've all had different life experiences. So this is going to lead us to radically different perspectives. Now, in terms of the answer, what is reality? I think through cybernetic theory, through the recursive universe. If you haven't read that by Poundstone, fantastic book. And through cybernetic theory, I think there is an ample opportunity for us to come together if we could get our shit together collectively and approximate reality in a very direct way. But I think there's a whole lot of baggage that has been. I think there's a whole lot of division that has been created, whether it's created by nature or whether it's created by the leadership who benefits from the created structures of these things. I think there's a lot of division that has made that very, very difficult on top of our already limited cognition.
I have another question.
Yep, absolutely.
You've been talking about obviously how you want Wonder to be a success, and I remember when it was like still having its initial trailers, you were really on the fence about it. Yeah. But I kind of want to jump over the fence completely. What was your biggest disappointment with a franchise release?
With any franchise release?
Anyone.
Metroid Other M.
Fair enough.
Metroid Other M, 100%. They destroyed that character. They destroyed that game. And I don't know if Metroid will ever recover from it. OJ and I go back and forth from Player Essence. He says that Metroid's healthy again. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure you can come back from the utter destruction of a gameplay identity and a character that game wrought. I just am not sure. I've got a great rant. One of my old ranking tier. I got to get back to doing that. My tier maker where I rank franchises. I've got a full rant on what that game did to me. But yeah, that game, that game violated me. I feel like as a fan.
It's so interesting when I hear that opinion because I ended up buying it like secondhand. It was kind of it's like it's how I did Sonic 06 too, where it's like I bought it because I was like, I believe you, but I want to know how bad it is. And actually, obviously, the story is its own thing, and it's
fucking
pretty
train wreck.
arguably crap. But I oddly didn't mind the gameplay.
Sure, and the gameplay is the least of it, honestly. Like that's the least of it. But I got to tell you, Florist, the things they did, like it, and what this is it's a fundamental difference between the creator. This is the clash of the creator and the fan base. So the way that Sakamoto views Samus and views the Metroid universe is completely at odds with the Metroid fan base, where we see Samus as a badass bounty hunter. Essentially, the what I like to use is the image of Burrito Mark, correct? So if you look at who is Samus Aran, Samus Aran is the armor in part. So there's this image throughout mythology. It's a very compelling image that you see constantly, and it is a woman warrior taking off her helmet and letting her hair flow across the armor. It's Burrito Mart. It's Hua Mulan. It's that character. It's that mythological archetype. That's who Samus is. Samus is not a bimbo ninja with daddy and mommy issues. For some reason, Sakamoto has this just ridiculous idea. He wants to separate Samus from the armor, and he wants to give Samus all of this fucking baggage that she doesn't have and never had. Like none of this is canonical. None of this. And it really starts with late development Super Metroid. As soon as Gunpei Yokoi got yeeted, he took control of this franchise and he took it in this bizarre direction that the fans just do not value. And until that dialectic is complete, until we have a synthesis and Sakamoto understands that we're the ones with the money, and so that we're going to have a determining voice in what and who Samus is as a character, Metroid will continue to flounder, and I don't know if it recovers, especially if Prime 4 is bad.
I think the weird part too with that is that it's the weird part being that they'd already done it before that game, but it was kind of like she just got to be like you were saying, like a masked warrior, and then they tried to separate her from that to make her like a female character. But why couldn't she just be a female character with what she was already doing?
100%. Mother M was where it solidified and became just awful. They turned Samus into a fucking brat. She wouldn't even activate her Varia suit because, I guess I'll just die in the lava instead of activating my Varia suit because I'm not going to do it until Daddy tells me to. You've got her being scared of Ridley, even though she's killed Ridley 3 fucking times in that goddamn game. There is just so much bullshit in that game that was bad. It was really bad. It's what really, it literally was part, that and Skyward Sword, basically, in Wii Music, fucking Wii Music, basically led to me basically turning my back on Nintendo for a whole generation. And that was back when I was actually an investor in the company. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, fuck you guys. You don't care about my experiences and my family's experience. So I will catch you when you get your shit together. And so that was one of like the unholy trinity of games that led to me exiting that industry for a while.
I'm gonna make sure other people get time to ask a question, but we're gonna have a
conversation.
conversation.
We got plenty of time.
Later.
Yeah. So again, we'll go as long as we have to. So all righty. Anybody else have any questions?
Like a top 5 for me.
Nobody? Okay.
We'll throw one out. That's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite soundtrack from indie game?
Ooh,
I don't know if I got this.
Chrono Cross, a game I haven't even fucking played.
Oh,
yeah.
Very nice.
Except for I got that fucking hi-ho tank every time. Like that fucking hi-ho tank is a piece of shit. It wiped me. But I need to finish Chrono Cross like super. But
Do you have a favorite song from the soundtrack?
Yeah, actually, ironically enough, like everybody likes the Otherworld music. I actually like the more upbeat Island song. I think that's a great way to start the game when you go out into that world.
I tend to be the
that
same
upbeat
way.
Island song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that to death. Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3 also would be up there. Yeah, I'm really starting to get obsessed with Silent Hill lately.
Because I was just talking about Chrono Trigger earlier today. Favorite character?
Favorite character in Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
Frog. It's got to be Frog.
Okay, yeah, real.
I like Robo.
Yeah, Robo's the best.
Robo's
I was looking for
fun,
Robo.
yeah.
I was fishing for Robo love.
Yeah. No, I gotta be basic on that. I love Frog.
We have similar taste, Forrest, I think. Alois
Yeah.
Bilbo.
We tend to have the same opinion on quite a few things, I feel like.
All right. Any other final questions for me, or are we good to get to chat? What do we think?
Zoo, I'm just glad to hear that you're getting into the Silent Hill games and the music.
Oh my
if you
God.
enjoyed 2 and 3, I would say definitely check out the soundtrack for Silent Hill 4. I actually think it's by far the best.
Yeah, I've never actually really delved into the room. I've got to try to find it. I'm kind of waiting on it price wise because, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about this because you are a huge proponent of For the Room. I've got a buddy, a good friend of mine, who's going to be coming on the show at some point. He's not a content creator, but he's a friend in real life, and from high school actually. And he tells me that it's fantastic in concept, but it falters a little bit in execution. Do you agree or disagree with that?
So, concept, yeah, I love it, but definitely the execution of the ghosts and having to pin them in places was rough. The combat's rough. The music and atmospheric sound is tremendous. The monster sound effects are horrible. I don't know if you've seen the meme or the videos of repeatedly striking this one like 2-headed baby enemy that like belches every time you hit it.
Yes,
So like you'll
I've
hit
seen
it over
that.
and over
Yeah.
again, and it's like, bleh, bleh, bleh. And I'm like, that noise that you're making
Awful.
fits nowhere in any of the atmospheric music or sound at all. So it's almost immersion breaking.
Yeah, no,
But
especially in a horror game that's that dark. Like,
as far as the songs that I would say were standouts, Room of Angel is a classic, and Tender Sugar, incredible.
Yeah,
Definitely
I'm not enough delved into it where I know specific songs, but I will. What are those again? And I'll check them out. I'm sure I've already heard them, but I want to know. I want to start to know them by name.
Room of Angel and Tender Sugar.
Tender Sugar and Room of Angels. Okay. Sounds good. Groovy.
They both feature Mary Ellen McGlynn, and she's the vocalist for a lot of the, basically all of the Silent Hill music that has vocals. And that was her, in my opinion, that was her best performances.
Fun fact, Akira Yamaoka also worked on Contra Hardcore, which is pretty fun. And then he did this soundtrack for Decarnation as well.
I did not know that. Hardcore is in the running for like the greatest Contra game ever. So
yeah,
the fact that Yamaoka
he wasn't the primary composer, but yeah.
Fun fact: Yamaoka, this friend I'm telling you about, who's major Silent Hill fan, he's actually followed by Yamaoka.
Nice.
On the Twitter, which is like super cool. All righty. Any final questions before we move into the chats? Okay, we'll go ahead and get into chats, and we'll kind of scan this because we've been. We'll let the chat hijack the last segment of this, guys, and we'll see if we have any questions that they might have. Now, notice I said chats and not super chats because you don't have to fucking pay me for me to read your comment, ask a question. Fuck that. We're all equals here. So, Rush Dog, good evening, gentlemen. Mandy has the alien emoji. Let's see here. Zoo keeping the conversation nice and light at first. Yeah, I have a way of doing that. Miss Mandia says I missed the start because my page didn't refresh. This stream is now this has been kind of a first experiment for us, so it's been a little bit of a fucking train wreck on the technical end, but I gotta say I love what we put together tonight. So definitely. So you're gonna join the call, Mandy? Yeah, I'll be watching tonight. Mandy, if you can, you got a few more minutes to jump in here so I can set you straight on Morrowind being safe for work. It is safe for work. I promise you. It's just that I fucked up on the modding. So it is a safe for work game, Mandy. So stop spreading misinformation. I'm drinking and driving home. Water, of course. Good correction, Caesar. Just so you know, there's a little bit of an echo, but it adds to the experience. Power to Jay's words of wisdom. Yeah, it's probably because of my jank ass setup right now. Rush wishes Caesar a safe drive, and I hope we see that she got home here later in this comment section. Miss Mandy says she's imagining Jay on a podium earlier, so very evocative.
I love it.
Yeah, and Rush Dog agrees totally. In a podium and an old timey black and white recording. I think you fit that vibe well. Yeah.
Call me Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep. Rush Dog says the big players don't edit their own videos. Once you get to a certain size, I definitely think Rush Dog is correct there. That like eventually you have to outsource the editing. I will never get to that point because my content is not edited enough to ever get big, which is how I like it. And also, I'm a cheap bastard and will never pay jack shit for YouTube. So let's see here. We've got, yeah, they are good people. Talking about some of the good people in this chat tonight as well. Measuring someone's worth based on their subscriber count is gross, 100%. You are not your subscriber count. Yeah, to a million to zero. You know, we're all in this space. We all are here to share this hobby with one another. So, yeah, Miss Mandia laughs out loud. It's Dunbar time. Yeah, everybody drink. Rush Dog says because I said Dunbar's number. I said the thing. Let's see. It's just the gym. So the excitement at Brandon popping in. That's a great method, Brandon. Your channel and online presence in general is always so positive, and it's really lovely to see. Aw.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and absolutely agree with that 100%. Calling someone out may actually encourage them. Yeah, if they're trolls, if they're trolly trolls, yeah. So what I try to do, Rush, in the rare aspect that someone gives a fuck enough about my content to leave a bad comment or a hilarious comment, is I'll never call them out by name, but I will basically add whatever they said into my Twitter bio. That's kind of my way of saying, hey, thank you for the content. So I make content out of them. So I had one person famously tell me that I act like I'm the last cool kid on the internet. So that's in the bio now. And then I had another person recently say I'm like a strange internet ghost because I won't show my face. And so that's now in the bio. So thanks for the free content, guys. It's fun. Let's see here. Zoo the cyber assassin. Yes, I have skills. I do have skills. So don't fuck with my friends. Um, you'll be verbally admonished very hard because that's what we do on the internet. Miss Mandia says, and yes, Rush, it's messed up, but I feel like a lot of the unhinged ones thrive on the attention. Yeah, that's why we gotta limit it giving it to them. Rush says absolutely to a lot of people, negative attention is still attention. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that we've learned that lesson on a not just an internet stage, but a global stage in recent years. That all attention is attention economy. Even if it's negative attention, it can actually benefit you. And so we've all got to kind of be wary of that and kind of put that in the back of our head. You should pick up a PC Engine Mini Zoo, is what Rush Dog says. Yeah, I've thought about that for sure. Especially looking at those fucking TurboGrafx prices. Holy God. Like, have you guys seen those fucking prices lately?
It's insane.
Ugh. I want Airzonk. I want to play Airzonk so fucking bad. And yeah, it's not going to happen. So Rush Dog, that's correct, Mandy. Miss Mandy, yeah, Jay, I feel like this in-between phase we're heading towards might even be worse than when we go full digital. It feels like a recipe for even more scalping and fear of missing out purchases. And that's sad, not what collecting used to be about. So yeah, I'm really sad about it, especially for people like Jay who don't even do the internet limited thing. Like it's gonna change how they experience games, and it's just very sad to me, man. Like for sure. So Caesar's still alive, drinking his water, stopping for gas at 9:42. And just wanted to say I'm thankful for being part of this awesome community. Caesar, you're a credit, man. We're gonna get you back on for a second for a round two. I've been meaning to do that. It's just I got so many people I want to get on and not enough time. Again, it's that one currency that we don't have more of. And gas is expensive. Send help. Yeah, do you have a Venmo? Not kidding. Says Arcade only fans coming soon. Yeah, when that gets going, let us know.
I'm in.
Family movie night.
Yeah. Oh, and in Orbology, hey all, I may try to hop on if we plan to go for a little longer. Well, that definitely happened.
Yep.
Excitement at Florist hopping on. Excitement at Emily hopping on. Allie's in the chat. I heard Metroidvanias. I came at the right time. Yeah. If you guys haven't checked it out, we had a fantastic combo with Allie about Metroidvanias and what exactly that means, and about whether or not we're ever going to take our clown nose off waiting for Silk Song. The answer is probably no.
Maybe next year, if that.
Maybe. But again, honk honk. Like I've got at this point, it's not just the nose. I got the whole fucking wig and makeup on. So
You're like fitting multiple people into the car.
right, yeah, we're getting the clown car ready to go with the Like I'm gonna show up. Yeah, like I'm so immersed in waiting for Silk Song. I'm gonna show up with a juggler and a clown, and we're gonna be wanting to do some shit.
You're loading the flowers with water right now.
Dead Cells isn't really 100% Metroidvania, though. It has elements, but it isn't a Metroidvania. It's like a Roguevania or something like that.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. We're having to
that was like
combine
the closest
terms and
comparison I could think of at the time, like based on what I've heard. But I think I said at the time, but I didn't play it, so.
Right, Roguevania, yeah. Hi, everyone. Ellie says, Silk Song, laugh out loud. What is HK2? Yeah, it's not Hollow Knight 2. It's Silk Song, and it basically still doesn't exist. Tony, who's in the chat now, says Engage was my favorite Fire Emblem since Genealogy of a Holy War. Yeah, that excites me, Tony. That makes me really want to move that up because I love Genealogy. Absolutely adored that. That was a revelation back when I played it. And I actually recently I played that one in my Super Nintendo revival phase. So that was when I discovered reproduction carts, and back when they cost like fucking $60 a pop. Like, man. I remember paying $90 for a Terra Enigma cart back in like 2012, 2011, I'm wanting to say. So yeah, prices have come down on the repro scene, thank God. Yeah, Universal Translator in the channel. Thank you for that, Flores. By the way, we appreciate that when we were having the.
Yeah, luckily we solved that quicker.
Yeah, lol Zoo. Yeah,
quicker than it could have taken.
Maybe if Zoo could restart Discord, Tony says, and then Woo, because we got it up and running. Sounds like you need to play Final Fantasy 16 on a stream with your backup conscience, Zoo. Yeah, I might do that if I ever get the PlayStation 5 borrowed again. Which I'm gonna have to at some point because I want to finish fucking Bloodborne. Like, I need to finish Bloodborne. That's a fantastic game.
Yeah, classic. You definitely have to.
Yes. I can hear Emily. I hear her now. Everyone's joined in. Scorpio says on a delay. So looks like Scorpio made it home despite drinking water. So good on him.
Despite
drinking water. Yeah. What the fuck? Get that water out of here. But not when you're driving. So you're driving. If I forget, I want to give you bad advice. Yeah, Brandon is so cruel to the Koopa Troopers. Yeah, remember, Brandon, that was a choice you made. A Goomba approaches. You can go around the Goomba. You can jump on the Goomba. You can, if you have a fire flower, you can hit the Goomba with the fire flower. It's always a choice.
Can I blame my parents? Is that something? Is that not?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but we all make choices, and in the end, our choices make us. So just remember that when you're breaking those blocks, folks.
We went to Wingstop the other day, and they were playing one of my favorite Rush songs, which is Free Will. And one of the lines is, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
That is a choice.
So even then.
Yep, absolutely. All choices, even a lack of choice, is a choice. To build on that, I forget who said it, a budget is a moral document. So even when you're doing a budget for your household, whatever, that is a moral document. Every decision you make has repercussions and reverberations. Was Dread not enough? No, Dread was not. And Nish is in the chat. He says, and Rush Dog says, hey, Nish, great question, Tony. And then Nish quick pops in to say, was Dread not enough? 3 million in 2019? No, it's not even topping OG Metroid. So no, macroeconomics wise, no. Population adjusted, no, not enough. Nintendo's going to spin it like it's enough. Nintendo's going to tell their shareholders that the game was the best-selling Metroid in the series, and they're fucking liars.
I think the weird part about Metroid, sorry, maybe I hope this doesn't get us too off topic, but I feel like the weird thing about that is I feel like it's like different communities that want 3D Metroid and 2D Metroid. I feel like that's like its biggest offender.
That's always the case, yeah, because it's the same thing with 2D Mario and 3D Mario. So I've told this story a million times. I'm that guy who was used to 2D Mario, and it's like one of my favorite things ever. And then when the Nintendo 64 shows up, I'm like, yeah, this isn't bad, but what the fuck is this? Like, yeah, this is neat, but that's okay. I can't wait to see what they can do with 64 bits when they make the 2D Mario game. And then 18 fucking years later. So, and I think that's part of it. Like, I think the 2D and 3D is the wrong discussion, just like the Enuma Zelda versus classical Zelda is the wrong discussion. I've kind of changed tune on this in recent years because I had honestly anger at Nintendo because it literally had been over a decade since I got the game I wanted. I don't want 3D fans or Enuma Zelda fans to feel that same sting. I think as long as they're producing both and they're doing a good job with both, I think there's actually room for both 2D and 3D Mario. And then we can all unite and say that the land and the world 3D land and world games are abominations because sales wise and voice wise, it seems like those games irritated 2D fans and 3D fans to an extent, which I've got a whole review on that, which is very funny. But we want our 3D games to be wide open experiences, and we want our 2D games to be moving toward that course to that goalpost or that flagpole. It seems like. And Mario Odyssey has recently. What is Mario Odyssey at? Like 28 million now. So it broke the 3D Mario curse. I can no longer say that 3D Mario doesn't sell. I can't say that anymore. So kudos to that, honestly. Let's see here. Let's see. Did you beat Xenoblade 2 yet, Nish Quick ass? Yes, I did. I did beat Xenoblade 2. And we will definitely be talking about that in depth on your next appearance, 1000%. I'm looking
Nice.
forward to that
I
because I
gotta
got a
look
lot
out
to
for
say
that
about it.
one.
Yeah, I love Xenoblade 2.
I
have so
adore
many opinions on it, good and bad. I want to see what other people feel about it.
I adore Xenoblade 2, and I didn't think
It's
that was going to happen when I started it.
Yeah, overall it's such a good game, but
Mhm.
coming right off one for me, it was a little bit weird.
I wouldn't have said I
Understandable.
loved it until probably the last 20% or so of the
Oh,
game.
it's so God, those revelations. Oh, and again, no spoilers.
A similar one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then if
Also,
it gets tough
also,
building after
Florist,
you
if you
beat it,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, it gets better and better.
responder.
now, Florist, when I do talk to Nish, please note that is not going to be spoiler free. So I don't want you to walk in and be spoiled. Okay.
Oh, I finished. I'm caught up on Xenoblade. We're all good.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay. So you're good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot. I just have a lot of opinions about it in general, and so I'm curious to see what
Well,
other
you're gonna
people
have to
think
pop on. We're gonna
about
have to
different
talk about it
aspects of the
too.
game.
We got to get you another one. We got to get on.
I would be down.
Fuck
It's
yeah,
been a
man.
while since I played. I played 1 and 2 like right in a row while getting ready for 3 because I got into Xenoblade like super late. But I still think that Torna is for me the most enjoyable experience I had with Xenoblade. So
See,
I think
that's
there's
what
a lot
Nish
of good
Quick just
about
said.
2.
Actually, just put in a comment saying Torna next. Torna at some point, yeah. Like, in between these big giant ass RPGs, I've got to take some breaks and play some smaller shit just for the sake of like reviews because I've got to write reviews for all this shit. And I've
That's a
got
nice part though about Torna and Feature Deemed. That is the smaller shit.
oh, it
I mean,
is okay. So
I
Torna's
did
not
like
long.
full. I did full 100%. It took me about 20 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
Tornado you
maybe
could
I'll
easily do in 15
maybe I'll move
Future
Torna up
Redeemed
then.
also took
without
me about 20
100%.
hours, and it was so good. I literally opened it up and I played it for 16 hours straight,
Okay.
and then just did the last 4 when
Well, I might
when I woke
definitely
up the
do
next
that.
morning.
And then I can do a review of Xenoblade and Torn of the Golden Country in one and be
I'd
one
be
and
very
done with it.
curious about Torna. I
Mm.
actually have mixed opinions about it.
Okay.
I've got some
Yeah,
complaints about the game design in Torna, but otherwise,
Side quests. Ugh.
mhm.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
issues
so
with Torna are purely on the mechanical side. Some of the decisions.
gotcha. So
And
story wise,
progression.
everybody seems to think it's great.
I feel the opposite actually. I had problems with 2's combat that for me were super fixed in Torna.
I guess when I say
Confused my
Or do you
mechanical
mean
side, I
like
mean
the side quests and stuff?
yeah,
Because like
some of
I'm
the
not
decisions
forgiving
that
those
were
the
made.
community
barrels.
service or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, honestly, for the most part, I felt like they were inoffensive, but the barrels were one in particular where it's like, okay, maybe we're putting you off for a little bit.
It's the combat in Torna, but I felt like Xenoblade Tape once it clicked, it's just so satisfying, and it didn't
As-
continue in 3. It's streamlined, it's fun, but I feel like it's not as satisfying to me.
You'll love the
Gotcha.
battle theme in Torna Zoo.
I bought
Yeah.
the Torna soundtrack on iTunes. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, the music in those games is magical. Like again, I've only finished 1 and 2, but there's not a dud in the bunch.
Yeah, I brought the Trinity box. It's worth it.
I saw that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was really cool too, and I'm glad it made it
Mm.
intact. By the way,
Me too.
yeah, that would have been a tragedy. So that's a beautiful set.
I'm so sad.
So yeah, Torna is amazing. Yeah, Torna. I stalled Future Redeem because I didn't want it to end. So Nish, the only game I've ever done that for, there's actually been 3 games that I've literally stalled because I didn't want the experience to end, and one of them happened relatively recently. The first was Final Fantasy VI. Did not want that game to ever end. The second game I stalled on was Earthbound, so 2 SNES games. And then the last one was Amori.
Mm.
Yeah, Amori
That's fair.
really, god damn, that's such a good game. I still cannot believe they did that in fucking RPG Maker.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it speaks to like what years of hard work can do.
Man. And I'll tell you, they suffered a lot of, they got a lot of shit for that too. If you look at the history of
Yeah,
dev.
that it was not a solid development process, but it turned into a really solid product.
Yeah, and again, I've only played, if what I hear is true, I've only played half of it because I've only finished 1 playthrough.
Oh, I've only played like the first 2 areas. I think it actually wasn't my thing, but I can like respect it,
Yeah, and Mandy says Amori is beautiful. Yeah,
which it is absolutely.
beautiful. I think beautiful is honestly, like in some ways, Amori, and I can't give it higher praise than this. It's like Humanity, the game, in some ways. Like
Mm.
it's beautiful, beautiful. I like beautiful. Yeah. I think that encompasses. So, well, that is the comment section. So that is the non-super chats. So I think at this point, unless anybody has anything else they want to talk about, I think that'll be a wrap. Anybody have any final things they want to talk about while we're all here? This has been one for the ages, Jack.
I'll go. I am like still in the beginning of Xenosaga 2, or sorry, Xenosaga 1. Someone, if you're familiar with the characters, pick my party because I love all of them and I can't say no to any of them.
I would go Shion, Chaos, Cosmos.
Really, no Ziggy?
I go back and forth with Ziggy. You might swap Ziggy in for Chaos every now and then.
I mean, I might be biased because I like literally just finished the opening sequence for him. Oh, sorry, Nish. You don't like pick them, but I mean like they're all gonna be in a group, and I don't know which like first 3 I'm gonna have. But yeah, I'm biased because I just finished the opening sequence for him, but I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Well, I guess that'll be it. So I have one last question for everybody here. Did you guys have fun?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for coming out. Again, this has been one for the ages. We are going to have to do this open bar again. And we've got 1, 2, 3 future Liquored Up Live guests that are going to be coming on as well at some point. Once their timing can make it work. Don't want to volunteer them or anything, but all 3 of you guys who have showed up here, always open up. Reach out to me if I don't reach out to you first, and we'll plan something. I know everybody's busy, so that's why I kind of hesitate to reach out as much. But we'll get at some point. We'll get y'all on for an individual as well. I promise I don't bite too hard for the most part.
Only if you ask for it.
Only if you ask. All righty. Well, thanks so much, guys. And we're going to go ahead and end the stream now. So I love you all, and get out of here. And go
Alrighty,
enjoy your
have
night.
a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thanks
everybody.
all. Have a good night.